Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another video on the channel. Today we are going to be diving into React Native, and it's going to be a bunch of fun. We have our amazing students over at Profit with JavaScript, our community that we've built out with our love and soul. So yeah, it's going to be a fun build today. And we're going to pretty much be streaming one of our coaching calls that we have inside the course. So every Tuesday I run a coaching course, and then today the focus is primarily around React Native. So if you've been wanting to learn about React Native, then smash the thumbs up button, watch this video and get excited. Now I'm going to go ahead and share everyone inside our amazing course. So let's go ahead and show all of your beautiful faces. Say what's up, guys. Let me go ahead and unmute everyone. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Hello. Guys.
Hey guys,
what's up?
There you go. You guys are live right now. There we go. That's it. And I see so many cameras turn on. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Everyone's like, yeah, I want to be on YouTube, you know? That's it. Awesome, guys. Amazing. Right. So we were pretty much having a conversation beforehand, and I can see the numbers are coming in now. So we've got loads of people joining this call right now. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying it, drop some comments and I can pretty much go ahead and if I get a chance, I will go ahead and reply to some of those as well. But yeah, guys, carry on from the conversation we were saying. We had a few questions came in before. One of the questions was from a member in our team, a member from a community called Saddam, and he asked, even if I'm a beginner, should I be in this kind of call? Should I be in this kind of situation right now? And I was answering pretty much yes, 100%. And even Frank agreed that like you should be 100% in these kind of calls, even if it doesn't make sense. Okay. So you want to make sure you situate yourself around people who are kind of ahead of you. And there's a rule of 33, which I live by. Okay. And this rule, like I promise you, I think everyone should go ahead and live by this rule. And it's very simple, right? You have split your life up into thirds, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen quickly and we'll start drawing on the screen. Last time, I don't know if you guys remember, my screen wasn't working. My setup was a bit broken, but now I should, yes, I have it back. Last time I had to do all sorts of crazy stuff just to get around that. Let me quickly make you guys visible on my screen. Okay, there we go. So you want to split your life up into threes, like thirds, okay? So I call it the 33% rule. And honestly, this rule has been the thing which has progressed me oh man, God damn it, every single time. I never learn. One sec. Okay, let me do that again. 33% rule. 33% rule. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is a 33% rule, and basically you want to go ahead and like imagine your day, right? So imagine like this is your entire day. Now I want you to split your day up, or I'm going to go a bit extreme right here and say split your day up into a third, right? So you're going to have three different things, or instead of what I'll do is I'll just break it up into, you want to spend a third of your time, right? You're going to spend a third of it with somebody who is like slightly lower than your current level in whatever skill you're building. So remember, this doesn't just apply to programming. It applies to if you want to get better at content creation, videos, whatever it is, go ahead and spend a third of your time with somebody who is not as good as that skill as you. But let's go ahead and start with one that makes sense. So spend a third of your time with somebody who is better than you, right? And not better than you as a person. I'm saying more skilled at you in whatever you want to learn. So spend it with somebody who is more skilled than you in the current domain that you're looking at, right? So this could be like, if you're looking at somebody who's coding, then you pretty much spend a third of your time with like a mentor, like myself, or find yourself someone who is pretty good with React, pretty good as a full stack developer. And then what you want to do is spend a third of your time on your own level, right? Now, what do I mean by this? I mean, if you bought a course, for example, everyone inside of PWJ right now, we have a bunch of modules inside the course. That is where you're going to spend it at your own pace. Okay, so this is where you spend time at your own pace, building the skill, right? Building the skill, right? So imagine we have coding, then you're pretty much going to be spending a third of your time. Remember this. You've got to spend a third of your time with someone more skilled than you in the current domain. A third of your time, spend it at your own pace building that skill. So be doing modules, be doing YouTube tutorials, be watching, like reading Medium articles and things like that. Because that's a situation where nobody is behind you saying, you need to do this, or, you know, like this is what you need to understand. Instead, what you're doing is you're pretty much just going through a tutorial at your own pace. If it doesn't make sense, you can pause it, you can kind of wait, go make a cup of tea, come back, and then kind of start it again, write down some notes. It's all at your own leisure, right? But that's good. But sometimes we need that kind of like, we need somebody to be behind us saying like, this is like the next level. This is kind of like, I want to make you uncomfortable. And we're going to talk about like React Native and Redux and stuff like that today, right? And you might be thinking, oh my God, I have no idea. I've never done this stuff before. But it doesn't matter. All you need to do is make sure that you spend your time around that kind of group of people, or find yourself a mentor. And that's going to progress you the most, fastest. And then the last third of your time, most people don't do this one. And this is, to be honest, this is probably the most effective thing, is teach someone else your skill, right? So this really, and I used to say teach someone who is like lower than your level or anything like that, but I kind of scrapped that, because you should just teach someone else your skill, even if they're like somewhat decent at coding and things like that. Teach someone, and now you can see you've got like, if we go back to the way I was explaining it before, you have somebody who's above your skill level. Then you have your own skill level, and then you have somebody who's relatively below your skill level, or even if they're not, it's completely fine. And you want to go ahead and teach them. Now, this does many things for you, which is actually insanely beneficial. It's going to allow you to go ahead and, if you can explain Redux, then you know Redux. Okay, like if you can explain React, then you know React. So it enforces the knowledge, right, to a whole new level, right? So this is going to allow you to really kind of like grasp a concept. Now, I can guarantee you, if you know about like React hooks or something like that, if I went up to you and said to you, right, okay, teach me about React hooks, right? Most of us kind of like, even I would have done this in the beginning before I started teaching. I would have been like, well, I know how to code it. And I'll be like, okay, show me. And you see, like, you have a different kind of pressure now, because it's not like the typical pressure of what we're used to. And it's like kind of like somebody's kind of asking us a test or a challenge or a question. Now it's like they're asking you to prove that you actually know what you're talking about. And think about how this relates to real life. When you're in an interview, what's the first thing that they're going to do? They're going to come up to you and say to you, right, can you like maybe can you prove to me, like, what would we do in this situation if we wanted to have 1,000 customers and they want to do like, they want to buy a product, and how would we structure everything and this and that? You have to show them, right? And you have to get their trust and trust in that, so that they can trust that you know what you're talking about, right? And that happens the same thing with a student. How many times have you gone into a university or some kind of college or school situation, and the lecturer is telling you something, or they're explaining some kind of concept, and you're like, damn, like how like they're kind of way ahead than I am, right? Like they know what they're talking about, because you trust them, right? And then what happens is, I guarantee they also had a point in time where they had no idea what they were talking about. And it's like, nobody is born into the world being like a React god, right? Nobody knows React when you're 1 year old, right? Nobody, like, you don't just come out with this stuff. You have to learn it, and you have to spend time like at your own level building that skill. And then by teaching it to someone else, you then go ahead and reinforce it, and you get much faster at actually understanding and using that skill, right? So these are the three fundamentals. And the reason why I want to start off with that is because, honestly, like, there's a lot of overlooked points here. Like this one, how many people in this call right now, I'm going to go ahead and quickly bring back the students. How many of you guys in the call right now actually have a mentor that you are looking up to besides me, besides Naz, besides Kazi? Like, do you have anyone else, whether it be another student or anyone? Go ahead and just raise your hand if you have some other kind of mentor.
Dang it, Sonny, you took it away. I was going to say Naz or Kazi.
Oh, yeah. So the reason why I'm pushing it is because I'm trying to make it like a bit of an uncomfortable jump, right? So in PWJ, it's given, right? So like, I'm a mentor to you guys. So we've got Tushar, we've got Anand. Let's go ahead and we've got Imran. Okay, we've got Danny Singh. Okay, nice. So you guys all have mentors, right? Huda. So Huda, I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. But remember, like, guys, firstly, I actually want to ask you. So Tushar, you first. How did you go ahead and find? And thank you so much, Frank, for dropping that donation. Appreciate that, dude. Thank you, man. Yeah. So go ahead and Tushar, how did you get somebody to sort of? How did you find a mentor?
Yeah, actually, it's in my firm only where I'm working. So there's a guy who used to part-time consult. Like, he
Okay.
was not working in our company, but he used to consult.
Right.
So there was a time when I had a chance to work with him,
Okay.
and we, like, we clicked. And the way we were pairing up and doing stuff, like we were awake till 3 a.m. and working on stuff, and it clicked around. And the way he does stuff, like designing architecture or getting something done or getting some bug fixes.
Right.
So that was the thing I looked up to him. Like he used to create something new. Like
Okay.
every month or after every 3 months, he will do some project on this small ARM architecture, like small chipset, some robotics,
Right.
or he will make some door locks or anything besides,
Yep.
apart from coding. And even in coding, what he used to do is he used to learn something new, and then he used to teach others also that new thing.
Right.
So that was the main thing which I got, like I was looking up to him, like as a mentor, and he really helps everybody.
Yeah. Amazing, dude. And let me
Yeah.
ask you a simple question of like, since you started looking at him, like as sort of mentoring, getting mentorship by him, how did you progress in sort of your level as a developer?
Yeah, it actually, when I was working, like we had a project and I had to work on I was working on the old Angular project, Angular 1, and then we have to suddenly move on to new Angular, like Angular latest 7 or 8 version.
Right.
So, and it was a move to TypeScript, and I was not much aware, like I've not never worked on it. And I
Right.
was like feeling, a bit scared, like it's difficult or something like that kind. But
Right.
then he was like, I have done it, I'll teach, everybody. And then he
Yep.
conducted a session like for 3 4 guys. He called him to his place and he was like, I will teach. If there is any doubt, I'll give a short introduction. And then the way he explained, and then I caught up with things, and I was like, I grabbed it and I'm working on that, on a
Nice.
latest Angular for new projects. So that's the way.
Amazing, dude. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like all it takes is that initial sort of jumping, and it can be scary. Like it can be somewhat of a thing. Like,
Yes, yes.
like you might be wondering like, oh, am I going to sound stupid or am I going to like say something dumb? Because I used to be in the same situation. I would be at a job and I'd be like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Or in the beginning you have this perception that you're not allowed to kind of go to the seniors, or for some reason like there's just kind of a wall between you and the seniors, and it's not like there's nothing. You can pretty much go ahead and just you
Yeah.
can jump into it. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, dude.
Yeah.
We have another person who actually raised their hand. So we actually had Imran. Anand. Nice. Go ahead. Go for it, Anand. How did you meet your mentor?
Yeah, so I met him through a Discord server. Actually, there were a few groups of people who were looking to work in a React project.
Okay.
So through that, I just joined it, and I thought, okay, I'll see what all things are going on. And as soon as I went in, there was one guy who was very active in the group. So I just DM'd him, and then I got reply after a few months, and then eventually it started. That was one of my mentors, and then second one is in my organization where I work.
Right.
So I work in .NET sector.
Yeah.
So there was one guy who was looking for a person who can help him in building an internal project.
Right.
So it was internal open source project. So I just volunteered from him, volunteered for it,
Yeah.
and day before yesterday that site got live internally.
Yeah.
And he's a team lead, and he taught me about all those atomic design and how would we use it and all that stuff. So
Amazing.
in the weekends we just get on a call and sometimes, and then we just discuss it over it.
Amazing, dude. That's exactly that's the way to move forward. I forgot, what was the last point you mentioned? You just mentioned something quite good. Just repeat that last point.
Yeah. So I wasn't able to join any of the live coaching calls last week
Yeah.
because I was in my free time from off office hours. I was working on a React project that was an internal open source project for my organization,
Right.
and it just went live day before yesterday.
Okay.
And I got a lot of appreciation from my managers and all that.
Nice.
I didn't do a very big thing. It was just a very small contribution in the site, but yeah, we were people of four people were there.
Yeah.
And in that, the person who was there, the team lead, he became my mentor.
Nice, dude. That is amazing. That is amazing. And what you want to do is position yourself in situations that like are going to make you uncomfortable. I can guarantee when you went into that position initially, you were kind of like, you were uncertain. You must have been like a bit kind of nervous, and I can guarantee now, like, you probably made a good relationship with that guy. and that's going to definitely be something. And the thing is, you really do hold on to those relationships, because there's been situations where I've been stuck in really tight debugging situations where like you just want to like scream at the computer, right? Nothing is going your way, and it's kind of everything's breaking, and that's when I have actually like reached out to a lot of the people I built a network with, and kind of said like, hey dude, look, I'm in a rut. I have no idea how to get past this. I have a client, he's paying X amount, like, can you help me out? And I'll message a bunch of them. I don't just message one. This is the problem, right? We end up making like one friend in the coding world, and we're like, yeah, I'm networked up. Like, no, like, honestly guys, you need to remember they're going to be busy. Someone who you usually reach out to might just be completely busy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Instead, if I get super stuck, I will message like 10 of my sort of developer friends who I'm like, they might be able to help me out. And I'll just literally send them the same message. I'll be like, yo, what's up, man? Like, I'm kind of stuck. I'm a bit in a rut. Like, any chance you can help me out with this? And I'll kind of like post a snippet on I'll use something like REPL if it's simple, and I'll share the code and what I'm kind of facing. Or if it's really intricate, I'll share a GitHub. It depends on the sensitivity of what you're sharing as well. But that's going to really progress you as a developer. In my last job, I was working with somebody who was a really seasoned front-end developer. And I can promise you guys, there is not a single tutorial in the entire planet that will teach me as much as I sort of learned by just being with that guy who's so experienced in as a front-end developer. The way they critique your work, the way they kind of attack you with like, you shouldn't do this. Like, and the way that they say like, you should do this and that. The point is why was it so effective? It's because it's somebody who, again, we're going back to the 1/3 rule. It's somebody who is above your skill level, and you're pretty much just like, you're just latching onto their sort of skill. And no matter what, you surround yourself with that enough, you'll get pulled up too, right? And then you get to a point where everyone always asks me the same question, like, Sonny, how did you get so good at React and things like that? Guys, I wasn't like amazing at React like about a few years back. I really wasn't. I was kind of like that guy who was, one of my friends said like, hey, have you ever coded in React? I was like, dude, I've literally done jQuery and that's about it. And now I'm like coding up these apps super quick and things like that. And it's just repetition, practice. But the main thing for me was mentors, right? Like finding a mentor, finding somebody that you can work with. And right now in this one room, there are literally about 80 people inside this Zoom call. If you do not have somebody that you are like, that literally just use this as an opportunity to reach out to at least one person on this call right now and say, hey, do you want to work on something? Or like, hey, do you want to, let's talk about some React stuff? Or like, hey, let's maybe like have an hour call. If you're not doing that, then you're literally cutting yourself short already, because there might be a perfect mentor for you in here. Like I already know, like we can mention a few people like Priyanshu, super young developer, absolutely killing it. He's making $330 a month. And he's young and he's based in India. So never let age, location, anything like that stand in your way. And you have access to the people inside the course who can go ahead and do that. You have people like Frank, seasoned developers, landed huge contracts, which is like, I've never touched a contract as big as what Frank had touched. So again, like if I wanted to go back into freelancing world, who do you think I'm going to speak to? I'm going to go and speak straight to Frank. Like I'm going to talk to him and say like, dude, how did you, what was the best thing that you did in that situation? Because there's no point reinventing the wheel. It's like, if you're going to code up a date picker in React, right? I'm not going to code that. I'm going to go and find a date picker module, which has loads of stars on GitHub. And I'm going to pull that into my project and figure out how to use it. Right? I'm not going to reinvent the wheel and things like that. Unless I absolutely have to, that's when I would do that. Right? So everyone on YouTube, everyone in this call, make sure you're at least like anyone inside of PWJ, use the community, use the Slack channel, and really dive in and make sure you're asking somebody else or finding somebody else to work with on a regular basis. And honestly, cycle it up. You'll make so many friends. Like it's crazy. Like especially in PWJ, we have like 2,000 students right now. And also, yeah, that's another thing. You'll have like so many more friends. Because like a lot of coders tend to be naturally introverted, right? Like we like coding, we like doing our thing on the computer. So where's the best place to find someone like-minded to you? On the course, right? Like on this platform. If you're not enrolled in the course, then link in the description. You can go ahead and check it out, or you can pretty much go ahead and literally in the comments, you can pretty much go ahead and check it out, right? Like you can go ahead and say, somebody reach out to me on this is my LinkedIn, like, and pretty much it's that simple. Right? You can completely watch a whole nother channel on YouTube and things like that. You can watch like Traversing Media or something like that, and pretty much just writing like, hey, anyone else want to pair program with me? I'm working on some cool stuff. Someone will reach out to you. I guarantee it. Someone will reach out to you if you do it enough. And that's going to be your start to building your network. And trust me when I say that network is your net worth. Like literally, if you go ahead and build out a crazy LinkedIn profile, and I don't know how many of you guys, like, go ahead and raise your hand if you're into Gary Vee and his content. Right?
I was
Awesome.
listening to his book, Crushing It, very recently, and I want so much value from it.
Yeah, he's absolutely killing it. He released a bunch of like keynote slides and things like that, which I would definitely recommend reading. And also, he's talking about how like Gary Vee is one of those people. He's very good at picking up on the trends that are about to blow up. He predicted TikTok. He predicted like Twitter when it was going up. He did a lot of like sort of early predictions. And now he's predicting LinkedIn is another one, because on Facebook, on all those platforms, they're very highly saturated, where you would post a video and it's only going to go to your followers or like a small majority of other people. On LinkedIn, it's crazy. You can post something right now, include a couple of hashtags, and that is going to get reached to so many people in that space. Right. So imagine like the potential if you're dropping value after value after value after value. Every time you learn something, write a LinkedIn post, share it, boom. Shoot a little video saying like, hey, I just learned something new. Don't worry about looking stupid or looking shy. Like we all literally, here's a trick. Everyone looks stupid in the beginning, right? Like that's something that I would completely break it down. Even a junior developer, when you first propose like, hey guys, we should use this Firebase like database thing. In the beginning, I guarantee the first time you pitch it to your team, you're going to kind of look a bit silly and they're going to look at you like, you know, how much, yeah, because I did that exact thing. And they were looking at me like, what is this guy talking about? But then you prove them wrong. You just carry on doing it. Like, yeah, well, you know, like I'm going to build it anyway. And if it works, we can go ahead and implement it. So that's my advice.
Funny, like, the thing that you talked about LinkedIn, that's so true about, LinkedIn. That's basically SEO. And I happen to have a good PDF book, and it's not like an amazing book, but it's like relatively good. And I learned about LinkedIn quite a lot from that book. So if anyone's interested, actually, I'll just drop it in the Slack channel. It's like a PDF, and yeah, I think that everyone will find a lot of value from it.
Exactly.
Is it by Ishan Sharma?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. So Adam, I see like Adam's doing it right. I'm down to work on projects together. I've never worked with anyone else, but I have experience in React. I'm learning React Native right now. That's it, dude. That's literally like that's all you have to do. Like you have to just shoot your shot, right? Like if I hadn't done that, me and Kazi wouldn't be working right now. I said to Kazi, I was like, yo, dude, I'm pretty good with React. Kazi was shooting some stuff on JavaScript. Next thing you know, we came together, and now this whole thing has blew up, right? So if you don't shoot that shot, if you don't ask someone, if you don't, honestly, even right now, go ahead and share LinkedIn's on the chat, in the Zoom chat and things like that. Share your LinkedIn, say like, connect with me, start talking to people, start shooting messages back and forth. I want you guys to build a network, and trust me, already 80 people in a room that all want to learn about the same thing. That's a pretty powerful network, right? Like if you can't get 80 people to debug a situation and one person to figure it out, then just trust me, like one person will figure out your problem, right? So you see what I'm saying? Like it becomes a very quick tool to becoming powerful. And on LinkedIn, honestly, like if you start building like enough and dropping enough value and things like that, like your reach gets so stupidly big that when it comes to finding jobs, when it comes to doing all that stuff, people just swarm at you. Like, do you know how many, like Frank can vouch for this. Do you know how many recruiter messages you have to go through? It's crazy. Yeah.
I started charging for them to talk to me.
Yeah. Honestly,
I sent them an invoice now.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
That's genius, dude.
Yeah, because they're always asking about like, oh, we have a referral. I was like, how about I invoice you first? Then we can
That's
talk.
genius. That's amazing, dude. I love that. And you actually did. So Frank did a genius thing with it when it came to resumes as well. So you reviewed people's resumes, right? 1 second, Imran. I'll come to you next for a question. Yeah, you reviewed resumes, right, on LinkedIn.
Okay. Yeah, I put it up on LinkedIn that like, hey guys, I'm a senior developer. I have a lot of experience like hiring folks and kind of like the interview process. Like I can help you get less nervous if you're looking for a mobile role. And now I guess I'm like React Native guy again.
That's amazing, dude.
And it's like, and I did a mock interview with a person.
Yeah.
And it was an hour-long interview, and they're like, well, but Frank, it's a long interview. I was like, most interviews are at least 2 hours. Like,
yeah.
you have to get the stamina for it. So it was mock interviews, real questions, real projects, and then also reviewed their resume.
Yeah,
And it was very successful. So it's LinkedIn is very powerful.
exactly.
I
Really
think I'm gonna start. I got the microphone coming.
nice,
Start shooting
dude.
some quick little snippets. Like
Yeah.
people, video on LinkedIn is powerful.
Exactly, and that goes to and before I'm definitely going to come to you, Imran, in one sec. That actually goes to one point I want to mention, and this was something I was very hesitant about before, but like even small things like upgrading a camera rig and things like that, right? Upgrading camera, upgrading mics and things like that. Like you might think of it as like, oh, they're just kind of fancy gadgets, right? They're kind of like, it looks cool, it kind of this, and that. But the truth is, it's an investment back into yourself, just as much as like a book is, just as much as a because the thing is, like, you buy a camera, like most people could buy a camera and they never learn how to use it, right? But the goal is you want to buy stuff and pretty much figure out like how it's going to benefit you. Don't buy random stuff, by the way. I didn't mean that in a generic way, right? Buy books that are going to help you. If you're not reading right now, pick up Audible, because I personally am not a fan of reading. I prefer audiobooks. I'll go for a walk, I'll go for a run, and I'll have audio just being read to me in my ear. So it's pretty much, it's very easy like way of consuming media now. And you just have, and
Literally the best book.
Priyanshu, that's actually, I'm going to highlight you one sec, dude. This book, guys, Soft Skills by John Sonmez.
Literally the best book. I've read like 14 chapters already, and trust me, this is the best investment I've made.
Yeah.
Best investment.
100%.
If you're not able to, get inside of PWJ, at least buy this book. Like, you're never gonna regret a book like this because it's phenomenal. Like, he talks about, how to start with freelancing. He even talks about, how do you approach someone. He talks about niches, and he talks about all those kinds of stuff. He talks about marketing yourself and so much more, guys. Like, just buy this book or read it on Audible. As Sunny said, it's available. It's amazing. Just take the action of buying this at least.
Exactly, dude. Like 100%. Soft Skills by John Sonmez. It completely changed the way I started billing clients and billing everyone. And it was when I took my sort of freelancing journey from somewhat of like a more of a hobby kind of ish thing to something that could support me financially completely just by that.
And it was also the reason why I was able to, get better with clients and deal with all my students that were coming in.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And guys, it's more a case of like, take it from actual, like, you could always kind of read it in an article, you can read it in this, that, but when you see someone like, even like Priyanshu, when you see someone like Frank or Shrika, like they're breaking the sort of like, what the kind of normal, what we're told to believe, what we're kind of told to kind of think is the reality. Like, you have to work 2 years to earn this much money, or you have to work X way to make certain kind of money. Like, screw all of that stuff and just listen to the tips and tricks from people who have done it. And trust me, you'll just skip all the riffraff. And remember, you don't want to, following the same path everyone else is following isn't the right way, right? Just because everyone else is going that way, just go the other way. Like, it's scary. Yeah, sure. Like, we've all taken that risk. We've all taken that dive into, even the first time I learned, I literally took a job where Redux was a main requirement. I blagged my way through the interview and I just picked it up on the train ride in to work. I was literally watching YouTube and I figured out Redux on the first week by just watching video after video after video. And I used some dodgy iOS app to download the YouTube videos before YouTube Premium was the thing. So you see, like, you make it work, right? But Imran, you had a question. I think he is. Oh, what's up, Jesse? Hey, welcome.
Hey, Sonny.
Yo.
Sonny, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
I was applying a job on Upwork yesterday.
Okay.
They asked a question, and the question was, what are the aspects of what are the difficult aspects of using functional components in React?
What was the difference between functional?
Sorry. No. What are the most difficult aspects of using function components in React?
Okay, so what are the most difficult sort of concepts or areas of using functional components inside of React?
Aspects.
Okay, so what is the most difficult aspects of using functional components inside of React? What I would have said, functional component, right? So the question, so is this for an interview? They asked you this.
Yeah.
Okay. So firstly, it's a strange question in an interview. But what I would say is, is it the difficult?
What is it difficult for you guys or for me? Like, what's
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'd be like, are you guys?
I'd be like, can you clarify that? That might have been one of those questions.
Yeah, I'd be like, do you guys know how to use functional components? Like, it's kind of you should
also, also whenever
That
you guys
was
are doing,
very funny.
when you're doing interviews, also it's okay to like not know everything.
Yeah.
Just it's okay to say, can you explain that a little bit better? What aspect of what? Like,
yes
to write it, to use it inside of a nested function somewhere else, like, or what specifically, like, it's okay to ask questions to clarify, because sometimes people have interview questions that are like very kind of like they're the ones that know it, nobody else knows it.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of get a little bit more information. That's part of the skills.
Yeah. And guys, never get disheartened. Like, do you know how many times I've been in an interview and they've made me feel really dumb because they've asked me like some crazy algorithm kind of question. And the truth is that I didn't know. I just had no idea how to answer it. I've answered some of them, I've broken down others and this and that. But like, there are going to be situations where they'll catch you out and they kind of ask you some strange question. And the truth is that again, it's not actually down to what questions you're being asked. It's about selling yourself as a developer, as some value to the company. So you can actually flip an entire interview, which I've done before, where they've kind of came in with this sort of technical, we're going to ask you this. And then before you know it, you're now talking about some experiences where you got into a debugging situation for a week straight and how you overcame it. And you're just talking about your story. So you can flip that. You can completely flip those situations, and it's something you can do. But to answer Imran's question, what are the most difficult aspects of functional components inside of React? What I would say is, before, what would have happened is functional components were amazing for many reasons, but the reason why they were limited was because you couldn't have state inside of a functional component, right? And that was very limited, and that meant that we couldn't have essential functionality inside of a component. So we had to kind of, if we needed state, we would have to kind of convert it to a class-based component, use the constructor and things like that, and have everything set up, and then you'd be able to use state in the component. Now that's when React hooks came in, and you see what they might have been doing here is testing that, does he know about React hooks? Or you see, like, it could have been like an actual sort of like a side question to kind of check if you know about React hooks, but it wasn't mentioned in that way. And then what I'd say is, but that React hooks came in, and now it's actually extremely easy using the use state hook to now have state inside of a functional component. So if you asked me what I would build, a class-based or functional, I would now go with a functional component for many reasons. Like, it's easier to write, it's easier to read and maintain. The use effect hook actually replaces the lifecycle methods inside of a class-based component. If you start dropping that on them, then they're just like, holy shit, okay, like this person is up to date. They know their stuff, right? Okay, that's cool. Like, you see, and then you can at that point, you can be like, oh, actually, there's actually a really cool website called usehooks.com. And then they'll be like, oh shit, really? Like, that's a cool website. And then you can be, yeah, I used one for Firestore. Like, and you see, like, take your skill that much further, and you kind of flip the script on these kind of conversations, and you just win their trust because they're like, oh, he answered my question and he went that extra step and he knows his stuff.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much, son.
Amazing. Don't worry, dude. Thank you.
But again, that's a very open question.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, it's always good to kind of unpack things and say, okay, it's like, okay, I can talk to you like what they are, what the definition is, like what exactly are you looking for? Like, are you looking for like, why they got updated recently in like React, 17? Like what exactly are we looking for?
Yeah.
It's okay to ask, to expand stuff. So.
Yeah. And never feel like you're wrong by asking them, because sometimes the person and I mean, I have had it where like, and it's only through actually carrying out the interviews that I realized this, like some people interviewing you are just kind of as nervous sometimes, weirdly, as you. Like they kind of don't actually hold the interview that great either. And they can kind of come across, it depends, like a very experienced, like kind of senior developer might actually be able to carry an interview really well, right? They'll be able to know if like, because the truth is that if I was interviewing anyone inside this call right now, yeah, sure, I'd be looking at elements of tech and I'd be this and that, but I'd be looking at sort of your approach to overcoming if you hit a debugging situation. So if I said to you, right, I would write like a little test sort of React app, and I'd kind of have an intentional bug in there somewhere. And I would pretty much go ahead and be like, right, I'll just kind of watch you and be like, yeah, like just go ahead and you can jump in, ask me questions. Well, and the truth is that I'd be more interested in the person was like, I have a question about this. So this is where the state is getting set up, right? And it seems like that shouldn't be there. But I'm not 100% sure. Like that person is, at least they're asking the question. But you'll get somebody else who will kind of like sit there and kind of like tinker around with it, make a mistake, tinker around with it, make a mistake. They'll be like, no, I know this. Don't worry. Tinker around, make a mistake. And now that person is killing through time, right? They're killing through time. They're burning through things, and they're letting their sort of ego stop them from asking that question. And that's the kind of developer that you kind of want, somebody who is very like open mindset to learning. Also a really cool note. I'm just going to highlight on the screen. We've got Movia, who he says, on YouTube, he says, thank you very much, Sonny and Kazi. Because of you, I landed my first job on Upwork. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Hey, awesome stuff, dude. Amazing. And yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I think that's pretty much concludes that sort of section of what we're talking about. I think what we should do now is let's dive into a React build. I want to kind of run over the difference between a class-based and functional, because that we talked about it. I think it'd be very quick. It'd be a nice quick run through, and I can explain an extension that you should all be using called ES6 Redux snippets and things like that. And then once we're going to kind of go through that at quite a fast pace, and then we're going to go ahead and set up our first React Native app. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, Shrika, actually, that's a good point. So Shrika the backstory behind Shrika, he was part of a hackathon. And Shrika, I mean, you can tell the story, dude. Go for it. You're live, dude.
What story?
So the hackathon app that you've built, and you want to share your...
Yeah. So I've won a few prizes last weekend.
Nice.
I won Best Use of Google Cloud at 2 hackathons.
Yep.
Best UI UX hack.
Nice.
And second place startup, yeah. And
Hey.
I developed a UI for the app. It's basically a wildfire app where it notifies people on like pollution and fires near them, and they can also read up on news.
Amazing. And dude, how old are you?
13.
13, guys. That is killer. Yeah. So that's amazing. And you wanted to show us, so Shrika's using something called Expo to sort of develop an app. And what you can do in Expo is, it will only work for everyone who's downloaded it, but it's very simple. As long as you've got a QR scanner, you can try what we're about to do. But I think what he's done is you can code up your app, and then you can actually sort of get everyone else to sort of test the app on their phone or on their computer by using a QR code. So Shrika, do you want to go ahead and actually share that QR code?
Yeah, wait 1 second.
Okay. So once he shared that, all you need is on iOS, you just pull up the camera app. On Android, I think you have a QR code scanner. You just pull that up and you'll be able to scan this. If you don't have Expo, the app installed on your phone, it should just go ahead and take you to the App Store, I think. But here we go. Awesome. So go ahead, open up, and let's go ahead. And I'm going to point my phone at that, and it says open in Expo. So I'm going to show it on...
If it asks for your location, accept it, because there's actually some pretty relevant location type things in there. So
right. So we're going to trust Shrika on this one, guys. He's not going to hack us. Nice. Let's go ahead and see. Okay, so mine's loading up right now. It says, oh, is this it, right? Welcome to... Dude, I love the UI. I thought this was like a screen for... I'm going to go ahead and show this on the screen right now. So my phone's cracked, so you guys won't be able to see that. But I haven't got autofocus on. But you can see the UI is actually pretty nice, right? So they can't really see it fully. Damn it. I'll turn autofocus on next time. But okay, so welcome to one. Let me go ahead and register an account. And it would be really cool if I could show this on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to register. I'm going to say Sonny.
Oh, Sonny, there's a way to do it.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you can do it, right? So you can actually do it. If you do...
If you have like a USB connector or something, just like charge your phone with your computer.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think actually, so you can do it through... let me go ahead, and I don't have my wire here. Okay, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll share it on this. So on YouTube, I think they can see it a little bit. I think you guys can see it a bit, but it's not going to work out properly. Okay, dude, I'll run through it anyway. So I'm going to enter my email address. So it's sonny.sanga at Gmail. Oh God, I didn't realize I was actually murmuring that out. And then I'm gonna put a password in. Okay. And guys, all you need to do if you want to interact with this now is scan that QR code, and you guys can test it out. So I'm gonna hit register, and then oh, nice, dude! Holy crap! Okay. So guys, this is the screen that it's taking me to. So it says dashboard, right? So you guys might be able to see that. It says dashboard. My phone is correct, I know. And what it says is it's got heat maps. It's got air quality, temperature. So it's actually found my location. It's got the air quality and temperature, and it's got the heat maps. I'll tell you what, actually, if this is running on your computer right now, Shrika, do you mind hitting run in web browser?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you go ahead and hit run in web browser, this should spin it up on a web browser, and we should be able to actually show everyone this, and you can go ahead and demo your app. But this is cool, dude. You got a news feed. We have nearby fires. We have notifications. Oh my God, this is sick. Okay, nice. And Shrika, how long did this take to build?
Sonny, I am not able to do it. I tried to scan it,
Right.
to scan live,
Yeah.
but it is not working.
Okay, so when you scanned it, did it say open in Expo?
It says OK and there is a URL in it.
It says okay, and there's a URL in it. Okay, so
You need to have Expo.
yeah, you need to install Expo, the app, on your phone.
Oh, Expo I have to install. Oh,
Yeah.
It's called Expo Client.
Expo client, yeah. So Rami David was just
Okay.
asking, yeah.
Dang it? Okay. I don't think it's working on my web browser for some reason. I think it's because like there's like a billion people just like on my
Yeah,
app right now.
it might be. Oh, nice. Look, you got loads of people jumping on. Okay, in that case, what I can say is, guys, take my word. I'm gonna set that autofocus properly. This camera's known for autofocus as well. But basically, what I can do is actually on the coaching call, what I can do is maybe. Oh, I have an idea, dude. I know how we're gonna do this. I'm gonna stop your share, and I'm gonna make my screen spotlighted, and I will show you guys this way. So I'm gonna replace the spotlight. There we go.
That's the time I was able to install
Dude,
Expo.
my
And
terminal
Okay.
is like
So you guys can
going
see this,
up.
right? So you guys can see he's got an app here, and you can see it out underneath. And we'll make this experience better, guys. So like I will share my phone next time. But you can see we've got these tabs at the bottom, and as I click them, it takes me to new screens. There's a news feed, right? There's a full news feed, which is awesome. And even the
You can
design.
actually view that and share it with other contacts
Awesome.
that you know.
Nice, dude. And if you see at the top, it says London. So that's where I am right now. It shows me my air quality, the temperature, and it will actually show. So what is this at the bottom right here? So heat maps. Oh, nice. Okay, I've clicked it. Oh, damn. Okay, this is cool. Right, so I've just hit heat maps, and check this out, guys. It's actually showing me a map and the temperature zones around London, which is insane. And this was built with what, Shrika?
React Native
Yeah, React Native.
and
Nice.
APIs.
And APIs. Okay, and how much? How long did this take? I was gonna say how much to buy this, dude. and how long did this take to go ahead and build?
Yeah, 24 to 36 hours.
What? Oh my God, that is insane, dude. Nice. 26 to 30. Okay, that is awesome. So 26 to 30 hours around that time frame. Dude, well done. That is awesome, man.
Yeah,
And
even if you like open up the news feed, it
Yeah.
like opens up a modal. And
okay.
you can share it to people you know.
Right, so I've clicked on
You could
newsfeed.
share a news article to Maribon, and then she'll actually get it.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Oh, man. And then it will open up, is it just the URL that it's going to, so it's a modal. When I click it, it pulled up a modal. Oh, and that's like in a Safari kind of style browser, right?
Yeah,
So-
and then
Sonny,
just
I
click
got
the
it.
share button, and then
I
you
got
can like,
I got it up on I got it up on my I could share my screen and I have it on my phone. I
Oh,
have my
go for it,
phone
dude.
on-
Go for it.
oh
Let's
yeah,
go ahead
go
and
for it. Yeah, that's probably
Let's
better.
get a nice little HD situation going.
go for it, dude. So you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay.
So everyone watching, whether it's YouTube or in the call right now, make sure you go ahead and download Expo, because we're going to be doing some cool stuff with that later. Hey, there we go. That's awesome. So this is the
This is
homepage.
amazing.
Yeah, this is cool, man. So you've got register and log in. So go ahead and register. You can just maybe make a dummy account or something. I mean, Shrika, how are you doing authentication right now?
Firebase.
Hey, I love it. Okay, awesome.
Bro, this app is killer. I wouldn't have been able to make it. Like if you did it in 24 hours, and yeah, that's huge. Trust me, congratulations, you did it.
Thanks.
And I wouldn't have expected anyone else to win that too. Seriously, like this app is really good. Like it's set for production if you want to.
Yeah, honestly, it's awesome,
Just
man.
put some ads, maybe. You might as well make some money.
What phone are you
Yeah.
using right now, Frank?
I have my, hold on one second. I got my text size a little bit larger.
Oh, right. That's probably why. Yeah, I was wondering. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
I do Expo too.
Yeah. Shrika was like, God damn it, what is this?
No, trust me. I do this on purpose to break my own app. So this is, again, something that we're saying. Like,
Dude, that's clever. I never even thought of that. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, it's like you have to, because like, okay, guys, I'm working on an app also. It's music based, and sometimes the name of the songs are really long. So I had to check for that kind of stuff. So I make the text big, make it small, still make it unbreakable.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is amazing, guys. Like, I'm here in Austin, Texas. I guess we have good air quality. I'm not sure.
Oh, dude, you're in Texas. Nice. I didn't know that.
Got heat maps.
I'm still not able to get into it. I still installed Expo.
Yeah. So, guys, remember, Expo, what's happening is Shrika set up a tunnel where he basically tunnels the connection to download the app and things like that. When a lot of people can connect, it can be very slow to download the bundle. So don't worry if you can't connect to it now. But just understand that that's what you can do in Expo, and think about all the use cases for it. But overall, dude, this app is sick. This is really, really cool.
Amazing. This is very fast.
Yeah, really, really nice.
Guess what, guys? It's 13-year-old.
Sonny, I would like to know how, what tools we are using to do this. And because I have a ScanLife and I installed Expo on my iPhone. So how to make it work? I scanned it. It is again showing me the same screen.
You most likely are running into like a little edge case, dude. So I would say maybe share what you're seeing in the Zoom chat, or we can debug it afterwards on Slack. Just try and share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Newsfeed, it's amazing.
Sonny, can you share the QR code again?
Guys, I would say at this point, honestly, like, because his tunnel is probably getting overwhelmed right now. So maybe just go ahead and use what Frank was showing to pretty much look at what was possible with the app. But Shrika, let's quickly run through a quick thing of what did you use to go ahead and to build that. So I'm guessing you would used Firebase authentication, right?
Yeah, React Native.
Yeah.
And then a few like air quality APIs and stuff.
Okay, nice. And were they free or paid APIs?
Free.
Nice. Okay, so free APIs. Firebase authentication is free to get set up and use. Did you have so for the navigation aspect of the app, what were you using?
React Native navigation.
Awesome. Right, so React Native navigation, that's going to handle all the sort of page routing at the bottom of the screen. And then what else did you use that you would find? Did you use any kind of form of Redux or state management?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So nice. There you go. And this is answering a lot of questions right now where you don't need to overcomplicate the build with Redux all the time or React Context API. Most of us, even I did it in the beginning, I was kind of like, as soon as I build an app, I have to set up Redux, I have to set up this, I have to set up that. Don't do that because it just overcomplicates the build. Just go ahead and add what you need as and when you need it, right? That's going to be the best way to progress forward. Expo is actually
this is amazing, man. This is from a senior developer over here. Like I'm very impressed.
Yeah, dude.
In that short amount of time, like, congrats. This is like really good work.
If I was an employer right now, I would have given you a job, no doubt.
Dude, 100%. Like if you showed that to an employer,
just to anybody.
Yeah.
They'll be very, very impressed. And
you will get.
Right now, I would recommend you to just apply for freelancing jobs and then show this app and make some more apps if you want to. And then actually you can start freelancing right now. So don't even care about whatever anyone else tells you. Just make some accounts and go for it, bro.
Exactly. Exactly. Also, we have, speaking of jobs, Adnan Razak says, "Hey, Papa React, I recently got a job in Dolby, Germany as a JavaScript developer. Thank you for your videos. You're just awesome." Amazing. So loads of people are getting jobs now. That's crazy, man. Shrika, just to show you, right? Honestly, if you went into, somebody said Baby Yoda of coding. It's so funny you said that because there's literally a Baby Yoda in the corner of my room right now. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it over there. But that's funny. But yeah, if you were to go into an interview, right? Doesn't matter what your resume looked like. Doesn't matter what anything looked like. If you pull that out and said, "Yeah, I built this," go ahead and play with it, right? Or scan this QR code, and they would launch it with Expo. They would be able to, by playing through it, like as a sort of seasoned kind of developer, I was like, okay, he must have used some kind of authentication. Regardless of what it was, it's authentication, which is not always an easy problem to solve. And especially for those people who don't know about Firebase authentication. And then you also have the fact of getting the app set up in the first place. Then you also have setting it up with Expo. You did that successfully. Then you had React Native navigation. That's showing like a million words just in that little, and it's a fun way of showing skills, right? The one thing I'm against is when you kind of go into somebody's portfolio and it's like React Native and there's a progress bar and it's like 75%. What does that mean? Right? Like if I see a React bar and it's like,
please don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
It looks
Also,
good in a website.
It's really hard to read. It's really hard to read though too, because some people have like slower browsers and don't put how many, like some people put years of experience, but that's only for the recruiters. Like when you actually sit down in front of someone, they'll say, did you do 4 years of advanced stuff or did you do 4 years of not advanced stuff? There's a huge difference.
Exactly.
This is in 24 hours, man. Like what the heck?
Killed it, dude. And Shrika, how many people were in your team?
It was just one person.
Oh man, that is sick. And were you coding? This is actually another handy question for everyone watching. So you were pair programming with him. Was it next to each other, or was it using like a VS Code live share or that kind of stuff?
Oh no, dude, we didn't do VS Code live share or anything. It's just we collabed over GitHub.
Oh, so this entire thing was over GitHub as well?
Yes.
Oh man, it's even more impressive. Like you could literally, so now you could share the repo, honestly, if you push that to your GitHub, have the QR code. I'm not sure if you can actually host the demo on Expo online.
Yeah, you can. You can like publish the project and
nice.
then anybody can scan the QR code then.
Dude, that is insane. You know what? To do that as a step one, and step two, release the app. Like literally take it that extra step and kind of release the app and say like, this is a fire tracker.
The thing is that it like costs a bit
to release it.
Waiting on the funds.
I could show you exactly how to release it for free. They have it free for students.
Nice.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So guys, that is literally an example, real time of networking, right? Like that is literally it. So like,
it's not $100. They don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So Shrika, speak to Frank after, and dude, we want to see that app in the App Store, and I can help you out with like test flight and things.
I was really impressed by this, and like this was very impressive for me.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like trust me, like I've seen so many apps, like so many new apps that are coming in, and they all have good UI. But this one is like, having those round borders and all that kind of stuff. And I think React Native might come in with that. But the navigation is smooth. You are pulling in data from APIs and you're doing authentication. So there's a lot of complexity involved too. And yeah, bro, like I would be the first one to install that app. Trust me.
That's it. Honestly, it's amazing. And dude, Shrika, guess what? Somebody on YouTube, Badar Nazam, says, Shrika, what's your email? I have a mobile project for you. So you might have just landed a client. Yeah. So you might have just landed a client. So go ahead and check out YouTube, the live chat. Badar Nazam.
Already hired him.
What was that?
Tell them I already hired him.
Nathan's already grabbed him.
Yeah.
Nice.
By the way, for anyone who's wondering whether it's for Android or iOS, just don't even care because it's for both. React Native does it for both.
Yep, exactly. So that's the benefit of using React Native as well. This is another question. So when you set up the Firebase authentication, did you use React Native Firebase? So the neat little React Native Firebase package. I always forget the name, but there's me and Frank. What's the name of it? We talked about it last time.
It's called rnfirebase.io or something like that.
Yeah, rnfirebase.io. Is that the one you used, Shrika, or did you use a different approach?
Yeah. So
like my teammate, he was working on the Firebase integration and backend, but like he didn't specifically use rmfirebase.io.
Right.
He like used it for documentation to help him along, but he didn't install that package.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So did he install any kind of native dependencies or no?
I'm not so sure.
Okay. Cool. No problem, dude. The main thing is you got it working, so that's insane. Really, really awesome.
It does the geo stuff, so like it has to be installing something cool.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, it does. It checks it out and all that stuff. So you would have had to install something. No, that's really like amazing stuff. Go ahead and show Shrika some love in the Zoom chat and just scream it out if you want to, because he deserves that. That's crazy, man. Right. So for everyone, you've got loads of people messaging on YouTube as well. Kani G says congrats. Mustafa Mahmood says this is going to be recorded. Yep, everything is recorded. And also Badan Azam, Shrika just dropped his email. So, do your thing. Get a little client going. Amazing. So guys, look, making like little deals happen on stream. That's cool. Right.
Yeah, and if it's not legit, we're gonna hunt you down.
Yeah, exactly. There's 88 people in this call that are networked together.
We're very protective of the community.
Exactly.
Don't be a bad client.
Exactly. Right. So guys, now
Sonny, I believe that, I believe that we can also make it in a React itself instead of React native.
Yeah,
because
so
I did this,
So remember,
using the API and location, you can easily figure it out.
So remember, there are differences, right? So it depends on what your approach is. So remember, this is also a good question for anyone who's kind of confused as to what React is against React Native. So React is essentially going to allow you to build something called a progressive web app, right? So it's an app that runs on a browser. So the benefits of a PWA, a progressive web app, is that you can pretty much the development time is extremely fast, right? So developing a PWA is a lot faster than developing a native app. That's from experience. I think like people might argue otherwise, but in my experience, it's just a lot faster than developing it. And now, if you want to release the app, it's also pretty much a case of like, if you're using Firebase anyway, it's going to be Firebase deploy in the CLI, and boom, like your app is pretty much, you do npm run build first. Don't forget that, guys. And then you do Firebase deploy, because I know how many times that caught everyone out. So that's going to be pretty much done. But if you go ahead and create say like you make some changes to an app version, now you're going to have to go ahead and create and bump the version, create another bundle, deploy it. So you on iOS you do something called TestFlight and things like that. You can do a bunch of different things. I can't actually remember what TestFlight, how we use it, but I used TestFlight in the past. And then you basically go ahead and you have to get approval in the App Store and the Play Store. Play Store is generally more easy going. The App Store is a little bit more hard going. And then you get to release your app, right? So there's a whole process kind of involved. Sure, you can make it quicker. And you can actually get quite quick with that, but there's a lot of setup and things like that involved. Whereas on React, it's extremely fast. And now React, the benefit of a PWA is if you develop a PWA, if you can actually on Safari, you can click on the little bottom button, one with the little sort of arrow pointing up, and you can actually click add to home screen on iOS. And I think you can do the same for Android. And guys, that actually kind of pretty much installs the app on your phone. And when you open it that way, it doesn't have no longer the sort of browser look and feel. It's like it's pretty much a native app at that point, right? So not many people know that, but if you go ahead and do add to home screen, you get a native app experience. And if you deploy, you're now getting the real-time sort of deployment iteration benefit of using PWA, right? So it's going to help you out in that sense. But obviously, with that said, it's not a native app. Native apps have a lot of sort of pros to using them as well. You can tap into the sort of graphics card a lot more. You can do a lot more sort of power intensive things. You can sort of get, to be fair, the PWAs are getting a lot more powerful, but there are pros and cons in there are times. For example, push notifications on iOS on a PWA, you don't have that, right? Which is why you usually opt for text messaging like Twilio or something like that. Whereas when you're using a React Native, you can push notifications and you can do something like Firebase Cloud Messaging to make it work, right? So that's going to be something to remember. Okay. Now, with that said, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go ahead and build a React Native app together with Expo and sort of see how that goes. And we can go through and run through all the teething issues and this and that, right? So now let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and boom, there we go. So we got my screen going. So I'm going to move you guys a little bit out of the way for a sec. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assume, imagine like you're fresh, you don't have a single idea about where to begin with this stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do it together, right? So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to type in React Native, right? And I'm going to click on this, right? So React Native, and we're going to pretty much, it's actually pretty simple to get up and running with this. You could get started, prerequisites, blah, 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 interactive examples. You can go ahead, and this is Expo. They have these really nice things. I think this is called Snack. Is this the snacks that they talk about? I'm kind of still like, new to.
That's an embedded snack.
Okay, so embedded snack.
There's
Nice.
also one that looks a little bit more like, I think if you click the edit or something, it brings up kind of like some kind of like I think there, like kind of like a small.
Nice. Awesome. So you get like a little
small VS Code kind of.
Cool, man. So this is awesome. And what you can actually do is if you click on iOS and you click tap to play, I think they actually have cloud devices that run. So right now I'm queued up in a position. So you can actually run this on a sort of a free web sort of thing. So look, it's actually running on an iOS app right now, or on some sort of like cloud phone or something. It says device connected. And
this is a great way if you put this up on GitHub or part of your portfolio. It's good to have this because someone can just click on it and they can actually run your real app. And so it's like you don't necessarily need to have all the stuff approved on Apple or anything like that. You can just have like a project that anybody could look at. It's very powerful when someone can click and start playing with your app.
Exactly. Yeah. And guys, think about it. Like imagine if you could demo your app like this, right? It's really powerful, right? So you can go ahead and let me just move my face because right now on YouTube, I think they can't see it. So if I go ahead and hide my face, so you guys can see this. You say try editing me 1, 2, 3. If I go ahead and say try editing me, someone say, yo, it's your boy Papa React. Right, and then I don't even have to hit save, and it just kind of dynamically works, right? And now that's actually running on an iOS device, right? Now, you see, like we didn't have to do any sort of setup, right? Snacks are pretty much a cloud environment; everything works out of the box, and you can also test it on the web and Android. And this is another thing: if you're doing development or you've ever done any kind of native development, you will know that setting up the development environments naturally without Expo can be quite painful. So you're going to have to set up a bunch of prerequisites, a bunch of sort of pre-work to go ahead and get that working. And this saves you a lot of headache when it comes to sort of
Sunny, just a quick question. So what's the advantage of using React Native CLI over Expo? So why do people even use it in production environment, and why don't we use just Expo every single web? I don't see people using Expo everywhere. So
Yep.
Could you just touch on that?
Good question. So firstly, Expo was relatively newer. So, well, I mean, it didn't really catch on as much until like now, because when I was using it, dude, that's exactly what the case was, right? So I wasn't actually using Expo. I was using the React Native CLI. To be honest, it had no mention of Expo on the site. And plus, it depends on where you're going into. So imagine you go into a company, and Badar Nazam actually just emailed you, Shrika. So I think you have a client going on right now. So go ahead and check your inbox. But imagine you go into a company and they've been around for a while. They've got everything working. You want to actually go ahead and sort of just fit into their sort of current workflow. You know, you don't want to be like, let's revamp everything to use Expo. They'll be like, no, we've got everything working with Android Studio and Xcode and the simulator. And also it may be more painful to set up, but once you have everything set up with Xcode and Android Studio, it's still actually pretty good as an environment. But Expo is really good. But I've actually had quite a lot of success even with using Xcode and Android Studio. But I was talking about Expo. Yeah.
Good question, Sonny. With the Expo, do you get like live reloads when you're like coding on VS Codes?
Yes, you do. Yeah. And I'll show you because we're going to set everything up now. So we can go ahead and show you, but you get everything. You still get live reloading, hot reloading, all that stuff. You get all of this. So everything you saw in this little demo that we showed right here, you're going to be getting that same functionality in Expo. Yeah.
So you don't really need Android Studio though.
Yeah, so this is the benefit. So if anyone who's worked with Xcode or Android Studio before, you will know that it can be clunky. There can be sort of like an update, and that one update is like a couple of gigs sometime, and it can kind of stop you from working, and it just puts you in a really annoying middle ground. Whereas with Expo, what you can do is you can pretty much use their sort of, I think it's a simulator or something. I can't really remember how. I haven't used it enough to sort of give you a solid answer on it. But the point is, it's a lot easier to get up and running with Expo than it is with the React Native CLI. And also once
and also on Expo, remember, you can always use the Expo app on your current device, and then as you're updating it, it'll live reload on your actual app.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
On your actual phone.
My question. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to do.
Live reload also works on React Native CLI though.
Yeah. Yeah, so it will work on CLI, but it's very quick to set up with Expo.
Yeah.
So I could technically have an Apple phone and an Android phone like side by side and have it live reload on both and test it out.
Yeah.
They even actually show this in one of their videos. They're like, hey, check this out. And they have like an iPad and iPhone. And it's like, it just goes across the street. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I guarantee if I said to you, like, right, I'm going to start a timer and I want you to do it, I want one person to do it with the CLI. And let me go ahead and mute whoever that is. I can't see my thing. Frank.
Go on.
So I think, yes, if I gave two people a timer and I said, right, go ahead and set up on, and like Frank said, like an iPad, an iOS, and a different phone, and then go ahead and set up that with the CLI, and then go ahead and set up with Expo, the person using Expo will win by a long shot. Trust me. Like, it will be so much quicker. And then the benefit of this also is, like, imagine like Pedro was building an app, right? Imagine he has a client, he's building an app, they want a React Native app, and then imagine like that client said, hey, like, where are we at, by the way? Like, is any update on the app, right? Now, typically what you would do is you could share your screen and do it that way. So that's going to be cool, right? I guess it will show the app running and things like that. But what if you want to give them that actual kind of, that look and feel, and they want to play with it themselves and break things and mess around with it? So you could be like, yeah, scan the QR code, and imagine that. Like, then they scan it on their phone, or you send the QR code to them, they scan it on their phone. Now they get to actually go ahead and play and feel the app, which is a whole different experience. So obviously, like, just seeing somebody sharing an app on a website or on a phone is one thing, but if once you get your phone and you're actually going ahead and scrolling through it, that's going to be a whole different experience, right? And then that actually sort of wins that trust a lot easier.
That's so cool, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be really powerful. So now you can see here's pretty cool as well. So we had a question earlier about functional components versus class-based components. They show you both example here. So this is how you would write a class-based component. And this is how you write a functional component. So for those of you who don't know about the differences, I'd recommend rewatching a lot of the old coaching calls as well, because we talk about this a lot, like a huge amount throughout some of the coaching calls. The difference is how to write one to the other and things like that and go back. So they've been recorded. And but remember, most people will say, yeah, I mean, class components are old. You don't need to know that. Only learn functional components. I will say to you, do not go with that approach. I know it's the way that we all want to go because functional components is the best and they're nice and they're fresh and clean. And yes, if you're writing a new component, 100% write in a functional component. If you wrote in a class-based component, I would kind of like jump through my computer and slap you. I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. But the point is that you want to go ahead and write in functional component. But if you go into a company, I can guarantee you they're going to have a lot of code which is going to be class-based, okay? And you're going to need to work with class-based components, so you're going to need to make sure that works. So we're going to go down to getting started. Where is it? We did this before. I couldn't even find the getting started bit. So we got core components. I'm going to click. Where the heck is the getting started part? Environment setup the development environment. Okay, here we go. So Expo CLI. So npm install -g. So I'm going to open up a terminal, make it super big for you guys to see. Let's go ahead. And also, if you're not using Spectacle, make sure you download it. It's a really, really handy tool. So you can go ahead and just do like a lot of this stuff, like rearranging your screen very quick. So it's really handy. So I'm going to do npm install -g Expo CLI, which npm -g install -g means install that globally. So it's going to install across your computer, so you don't have to pretty much worry about, if you want to use Expo commands, you can then use things like Expo and knit, and that will go ahead and allow you to set up an app. Brian Redding says, I've got a question. Shoot, dude, on YouTube. If I see them on YouTube, I'll try and answer as many as I can. Okay, so, and this is also another question. So this is a really good one, actually. So Debashis Gracia says, is Mac required to develop and publish an iOS app built using React Native? So this typically was the breaking point for iOS developers. So before, you kind of needed to have a Mac to write an iOS app, right? You needed like a Mac because you needed Xcode. And if you didn't have Xcode, it was like tough, you couldn't really do it. So you might get this also, guys, you might get this error. You need to do sudo whenever you do a global install. So I'm going to write sudo, and I'm going to go ahead and pop in the password. There we go. Yeah.
And another thing here that people always kind of get confused here. Sudo, what it does is it gives you administrator access to your computer, and then when it says password, this is old school like Unix, so it doesn't like move forward as you're typing. It stays in place. So type in your normal password for your computer, and it'll stay in place, and then press enter.
Yeah.
A lot of people get stuck here like, oh, how does this work? Like that's one of the top Stack Overflow questions for React Native.
Exactly. It really is. It actually the top. Top.
One of the top ones, one top 10 for sure.
Damn. Yeah, because that's actually one of those things that I remember when I was first learning in terminal, I was like, why is nothing coming? Like, nothing's coming on there. And then the more I got familiar with Linux and Unix or stuff, you kind of get familiar with that. But yeah.
And it's also the password, if you don't mind.
See, that's what you got to watch out for, guys. That's what we call phishing.
It's I love Mehraban.
Yeah, I love Mehraban 365. That's it. Right. So
Sonny, and I wanted to share, if Macs are too expensive for my current firm, what I've done is I bought some used Intel components like gigabyte motherboard and an Intel i7 CPU, 700K. And what I did was I installed Hackintosh on it.
Yeah.
So like from past 1 year, it was on Mac OS Mojave, and like last week I just updated it to Catalina.
Nice.
So for iOS 14.1 development,
Yeah, so you can.
It works smooth. We have no problem. So it's also very cheap, like Indian 35,000 rupees. I was able to create a CPU like with a full-fledged.
Nice.
Macintosh.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. So you can go the Macintosh route. One thing I did want to mention, which was a question that was asked before by that Debashis Gracias, was that if you don't have a Mac, right, the journey doesn't end there anymore because you have Expo, right? So Expo now unlocks that development. So you can then actually carry on with the development. You can still build an iOS app, you can still build an Android app, you can still build a web app, all through Expo, which is really game changer from before. A lot of people didn't need. So KGF Likia says, yes, you need a Mac. No, you don't. You don't actually need a Mac anymore. You can actually still write the code. And what you might be able to do is test with an Android phone, then publish it to a Snack, test on one of their cloud sort of iOS devices, and that would work perfectly. And it would work in sort of the way you expect it. So you can go around that now, which is
React Native CLI, you still need a Mac.
Yes, exactly. So that's for React Native CLI, you're going to need a Mac. Yeah. So that's going to be
it gets even better than this. So like what we do is I set up a CI environment, continuous integration.
Nice.
So what that allows me to do is, as I'm doing everything to do with the code, I'm able to push it up on GitHub, and then it automatically creates all of this stuff and then pushes it all the way to the test flight, the thing that we were talking about before. That's a way that you can use to test apps on iOS. So not only do you not even need a Mac, like you don't even need any of it. So
amazing,
it can do it. You can do it automatically. So um, just this is the new way of doing it. This is why it's very powerful. This is why we're talking about it. So JavaScript everywhere, literally, like up and down the whole stack. So just letting you guys know, like you don't need a Mac anymore. That's a myth. If you need publishing rights, it's not $99 anymore. Show you exactly how to do it. So
That's good.
Exactly.
You can also use a virtual machine.
Not actually, because it's like Apple has a like one part of Apple that's a little bit tricky is you have to create a certificate. It's called a certificate.
Yeah.
That certificate, it does require certain things. It's a little bit harder to do. There are services that will produce a certificate for you now, so you don't even need a Mac. Like that was the last thing holding it out. Certificate is something that you must use from Apple to sign an app to put it up on the App Store.
Yeah. And also virtual environments get a bit clunky, guys. Like I know they sound ideal, but I've used them before and I've had to. But now that I know about this other stuff that's out there, I really would stay away from a virtual environment, to be honest. There's a lot more other better solutions out there. And like Frank said, if you want to go in the route of like DevOps and things like that, or just as a hobby, I would really recommend it because I am pro that with Frank, because I did the same. I set up a bunch of CI, and it's so cool when you get it working. Like you literally push your code and it just does this, it does that, it does everything else. And then at the end of it, you've just got all of your stuff that you would have done manually done for you. So you can pretty much make it. And that kind of goes into the automation world and sort of that sort of side of things. But really valuable, by the way, as a developer to know that stuff. It's really, really like a selling point. You can actually market yourself really well as a DevOps kind of / full stack.
It helps with your freelance rate also.
Yes.
Because if you're able to do more things, it's like, yeah, of course, I wouldn't want anyone to want to learn that just off the bat if that's not what you want to do. But you're a JavaScript developer, then React developer, then you start doing some mobile stuff, and then you keep progressing. And then one of the final things is being able to have a self-deploying app. So that's how you kind of level up this whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I just have a quick question.
Go for it.
So, say that I want to become a very good React and React Native developer, right?
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that even Frank could relate to this. So, what would be the ideal roadmap for someone like me who is just starting off with React? And what would be my approach? So, should I start with class-based components? Should I start with functional components? And how should I, progress up in that so that one day I can like even today I can of course go for to a client for all that kind of stuff, but right now I want to master React and React Native, right? So what could be the ideal roadmap for someone like me?
Right. Yeah, there's this awesome YouTube channel called Clever Programmer.
Love it. Carry on, dude. Go for it.
I've heard of it. I think
it's really nice, Frank.
no, I think part of it is some of what Sonny was talking about before, right? Like the way that a lot of us got introduced to how Sonny was doing it was by clones. So there's an equivalent in the React Native world for the clones. So like start checking out some of the stuff that they're doing. Try to see like the kind of newer ones, the ones that are using Expo. Actually, the folks from Expo, they make clones too on Expo. There's a Instagram Expo. It's like a very full featured clone of Instagram, all built in Expo. So it's almost like when you want to level up, try to think about that same mentality, like projects that are kind of already done. And then take little bits and pieces, right? Deconstruct it, try to do it yourself, like follow along. So that's a React Native route. And what Sonny is doing, with the clone apps on in React, it's the same thing. It's like the more projects you do, you'll see, like like doing this project with with the fires around me and like all that stuff, like building that stuff in Expo it's very powerful. And if you have access to a device, you can see it happening. So you can see that red thing that it gives you React Native. It's like this terrible screen that shows you like it just crashes, right?
Yeah,
it shows you how to deal. It's way worse than just regular React.
Yeah.
It's seeing kind of what projects are out there, following along some tutorials, like little small stuff, but that's how you level this part up, right? Because I know that you're looking at some stuff, like look at like the big projects and then kind of work backwards from there.
Exactly. Like literally take on more for everything that Frank had pretty much said right now. And what I'd add to it is pretty much a case of like, in terms of actionable points, there's literally like 25 clones on Clever Programmer. Each one targets a different challenge in a different way. So I would recommend that, like, if you kind of feel that like you're hitting a lot of similarities, then go ahead and check out like a completely different. So for example, the Amazon 5-day challenge, right? That one we did Stripe payment processing. We used cloud functions on the back end. We did loads of React front end. We done Firebase. We did authentication. Everything was inside that build, even state management with the React Context API. So we had loads of stuff that was involved in that build. What I would recommend for you to do is go ahead and one, build up your pattern recognition by doing the builds, right? That's going to be the number one best way of just like dialing in on what is needed. How do I navigate between pages? Because you're always going to have these questions, but when you actually put them into use cases, that's when you're going to be dialing it in and sort of nailing. You'll answer a ton of your own questions through them builds. You'll also run into, like Frank said, you run into a lot of the bugs yourself, like where React.js itself is very friendly with bugs, right? It's quite like easy to quickly spot a bug, kind of fix it. I wouldn't say easy, but you're going to get into situations where it's kind of like a bit more straightforward. React Native, on the other hand, is a lot more painful. So what I would recommend is build your stamina with React and then kind of get very comfortable at debugging situations for a lot longer periods of time with React, and then go towards React Native. Because React Native, I definitely feel like you need a lot more patience and sort of, patience is the word that I would go with for React Native. I've been into debugging situations where it's a lot more painful debugging in React Native. And React Native also, the dependencies for React, let's say you install Firebase in React, you would just do npm I Firebase, right? Then you now have Firebase inside your app. If you're doing it with React Native, you're going to need to install the iOS dependencies, the Android dependencies, and then you're going to have some additional kind of steps. Now, there is documentation to do that, but remember, it might work perfectly fine on iOS, and then Android will present its own weird bug. So there are things like that. That's why I kind of say build your stamina with React, which is a lot more easier to kind of handle this stuff, and then go forward and dive into React Native. But what you're doing right now, Priyanshu, is you're being practical. So you're actually going ahead, landing clients. You're not letting that become a block, because I guarantee most people on the call right now don't get disheartened that like, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to put myself out there. I would flip the script and put yourself out there and figure it out on the job. Honestly, because it's
so true. Like right now, I wouldn't say that I'm good. I would say that I'm just a beginner at React. But what we will see quite a lot of times happening is that there are going to be clients who want to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? So even if you know HTML today, like Sonny in one of his calls told us that if you know how to make a web page and if you know how to put up a landing page, if you can teach that to someone else, they can pay you, right? And yeah, it does seem over exaggerated to a certain level, but it's not. Trust me, it's not, because I was able to land clients for web development, and I wouldn't say that I'm a master of web development. So I think that anyone else could do it too. So if you can, like make some basic web pages, and if you can learn JavaScript, trust me, it hardly takes like a week to learn about HTML, CSS, and maybe a month at max to get good with JavaScript.
Yep.
And yeah, I highly agree on the point that you mentioned about teaching and taking action. And right now I'm gonna try to do that myself. So I'm gonna pull up some React stuff up, and I'll check it out. Sure.
Amazing. Yeah, 100%. And just action it, move forward with it, and every day just make sure that you're either like contributing to it, like some kind of build or something practical. Because remember, theory is like something that we and that's the traditional education system teaches through theory and very little practical. Flip it. Just do practical and kind of pick up the theory when and as you need it, right? And that's going to really kind of be a lot more beneficial to you. And it means that your time is spent a lot better, and you're going to get a lot more return quicker.
I like to call it applied computer science. It's everything
I like
else
that.
is so theoretical. It's like, shut up. I just applied.
It is.
I can relate to that, because
funny thing is, you find out most professors who teach cannot even code to save their lives.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously,
They can't. Yeah.
They can't. And my school, I found out my professor, he had the TAs, these teaching assistants, who were know what they're doing, they would rather be the ones to do the recitation. So he just has the slices used for decades and just shows them and explains the same stuff. And then you go to the recitation, and then the TAs are the one that will actually help you fix stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And Priyanshu, it's like another really good thing about Expo is that what we were just showing you with these snacks, the snacks can be public. So there's people that publish the snacks, and then you can kind of see like, okay, that's how they did this. This is how they did the header part. This is how
Reading
they
code
did
always helps us
buttons.
when we're learning. And some people always underestimate the power of going to GitHub and just reading some code up. And you should do that quite a lot of times. Like just look at some files, and then with pattern recognition again, it comes along the way. And I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, like look up like for instance like a Firebase Expo snack.
Yeah.
And look that up, and if it's not updated, I'll update one. I'll create one myself. I've had Expo forever, so um, it's a good starting place, and I think a lot of people will get value from it because then you'll start seeing like what's similar, what's different, some of the complexities, and then run the code on your device. You're like, oh wow, I can log in, I can do this and that. So it's like we can technically most of what Sonny was creating with some of these clones, like maybe not the Stripe one because that one has like a little bit different way of doing it, but most of the other ones like the Twitter clone and all of the clones, you're able to turn that into like a React Native Expo experience.
Yes.
So those kind of things are very, very interesting. And the Expo snacks are, most of them are open. Most of them have people, some of them aren't that good, but some of them are really good. They have different stars, they have stars like just like GitHub. And check some of them out. Even though the guys from Expo, like I said, their blog creates a lot of really interesting stuff. Like the push notifications, they did one with like the guys from Pusher. That's like another service that's not that's not Firebase, that you can get exposed to that. All kinds of different things, and a lot of the stuff is like there for you to check out.
Yeah, right now I'm actually focusing a lot on React. So I what I want to do is get my foot dirty on React first. And once I'm quite comfortable with React, I'll start to look into React Native and try to build my own mobile app one day. And yeah, I'll definitely take that piece of advice that you just said, Frank. And yeah, I highly appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Amazing. Nice.
Frank, one more question. Where we can utilize this snack.expo.io? Where? For building from scratch, or we can put the code and test it over there. Building a complete app there, or how we can use it?
You can build a complete app except for there's a couple small things you can't do. So anything that's kind of like UI based is pretty good, but some of the stuff in Expo Snacks, they don't have quite all the Firebase stuff from the last time I checked. All the Firebase stuff that's like native, that's not like fully solved, but they're getting pretty close. But you can do a lot of stuff there, and then you run it on your own device, like what we were saying before.
Yeah.
You can test it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Exactly.
Hey, Sonny.
Hey, dude.
Just one more question.
Yep.
While we were discussing all these stuffs, I just went to snack.expo.io and I just played with the code, and I felt like, wow, this is React Native. I mean, you just replace a div with a view and then the text and all those things. So
exactly, yeah.
That's what it is.
So what I wanted to ask is, if I say that I know React basics and intermediate stuff like Redux and Redux sagas and all those stuffs, along with all my HTML and CSS and all those CSS and JS skills. So what else do I need to transition from that React mindset to React Native mindset?
So this actually is a good question. What I would say is simplify it, right? So you already know React. Think of what Frank was just talking about now. Like the practicality overrides everything. So literally go ahead, just kind of dive in and look at some of the snacks that are released, because like you said, like just by looking at a snack, you just quickly realize, like you quickly defeated that fear. Right? You're like, oh my God, they're just replacing a div with a view. And honestly, that's kind of how it goes, right? Like it's very small differences. And then you kind of build up from that. And then like rather than using React Router, use React Native Navigation. And there's small differences like that. But the main thing is like I would say just go ahead and look at the project and maybe set yourself like a little starter project, right? So maybe a starter project where you're going to need some kind of authentication, some kind of navigation, and those kind of things, and then just dive into it. Because honestly, like again, what you kind of asked there was, what theory do I need to know? Flip it and instead just run headfirst and do practical, and you will answer those questions. You'll build up the theory that you need to know through the actual practical application. And thank you so much, Shrika. He says, hey guys, I'm back after eating some lunch. Oh, did I miss anything? I thought he was leaving. No, it was just a lot of practical talk, pretty much, about what you need to like how practical approaches to sort of your learning is going to be a lot more more beneficial. Debashis says, thanks, Sonny, for answering my question. I always thought that a Mac is required to build and publish an iOS app, but as you said, it's no longer needed now. This makes React Native very powerful. Yes, that makes Expo in React Native very powerful, to be super clear. Yeah, but you're welcome, dude.
I'm gonna drop a link here for the this guy's name is Evan Bacon. He works for the guys at Expo, and he did this like massive Instagram clone. It also includes like crazy stuff. Like he has like filters in it. Like you can do a lot of crazy stuff with Expo.
No way, bro.
Yeah,
Like filters
no,
is
it's crazy.
quite hard to build. Like I've tried it myself and I was like, oh my goodness, it's gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah, check out this this website. Sorry, this GitHub repo. There's also a step-by-step kind of guide on their blog. It's a little bit outdated, so I'm not sure. You know, I think it was from last year or something like that, but there might have been newer things. But check out that project. It's like, if you want to know what you could do with Expo, you can do a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, you can. And then, dude,
it is excellent.
It was only until you said that.
It does look like Instagram.
It was only until you said that, Frank. Oh wait, have you? Let me go ahead and check this out. One sec. I was just looking at something. Okay, they've got a demo. Let me go ahead. Try to share my screen. I'll share it with you guys.
Also publish some blogs about React Native on Clever Programmer. You know, like we also, guys, if you're not already reading those blogs, then please check them out. We really put a lot of time into it, and now I'm thinking of making some content about blogs about React Native. I'm gonna do that very soon.
Nice, dude. Is this Frank? Is this using React Native, or is this?
Yeah, this is it's actually really interesting. This is the Expo web version, right? So they actually have it on. If you look at the repo, it has like the iOS and all that stuff, so you could run it. This is kind of like if you have it on your if you clone it and then put it on your own device on Expo,
right?
It does like a bunch of stuff. It's actually pretty nuts.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, dope, dude. So this is actually going to the web sort of one.
Yeah. So they broke it out into 3 pieces: web, Android, iOS. Yeah. See, look, you see like the web components, navigation screen.
And you guys check, you can just pretty much look at how they you might be wondering, how do they handle permissions? Dive into their code. You can see, look, there's some kind of permissions here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it allows you to say, hey, yes, camera permissions, audio recording. So then you could record a little video. Like this app does quite a bit of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can pretty much see it here. And this is, to be honest, and you might look at this and be like, oh my God, it's class-based. But to be honest, the main thing is that it's showing you how to use it, right? It's showing you how to go ahead and you can see they've got a bunch of things. They've got some kind of gate, action sheet provider, audio mode, connecting, and all of this stuff you can then go ahead and dive into their code and check out. So this is actually a really good way of it's sort of widening your breadth of knowledge when it comes to React Native. But yeah, I'd definitely say go and check that out. That looks pretty cool though, dude.
I have a question for Frank. Mm-hmm. Can we do, or Sonny, can we do some programming for example, if I'm making a video, I want to program it, one scene is there, then I can click and I will do something. I click here, I will do something there. Is it possible in a video using our React or React Native or any tool?
What I'm not sure of your question. So
You mean like to create like a?
I'm streaming. I'm making a streaming video, right? Movie, any movie, short movie.
Okay.
Okay, when I click at a particular point during a movie, so it will give me an open my app, something like that, or something, you know.
I
I'm not
think.
quite sure. Are you saying to record like a video for that of your app working, or what? What? I'm not.
No. I created a movie like we are recording right now, right? We made this movie. After completion of this movie, I want to add CC into it. Means what we are talking, I want to translate and script in the bottom.
Okay.
How do I do that?
So you could make
programming.
So you could make an app, right, which takes some kind of video source. So you can upload some kind of video file to it. You could then look at some kind of library, which could be like, I would recommend searching for a library. What was that?
I know a really good way to do this.
Okay, go for it, dude.
Yeah. Okay. So what you would first want to do is okay. So create the app. Okay, and then maybe it would ask for like a video file or maybe a YouTube link if you uploaded it to YouTube. Then I mean it includes like Google Cloud and stuff. But like if you feed it, once you do it in the backend, it will send that to Google Cloud, and then Google Cloud can do a transcript, and then you can also use their NLP API, so you can like cross check and see if it's generating the right words, and then you can use like Cloud Translate to translate to get different languages and stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's clever. That's smart, actually.
Okay. Another thing is because my purpose is a little bit different. For example, while he's talking about, Sonny's talking about React. So when he's talking about React, there will be a logo of React on the backend side of it. And when I click React logo, it will launch, something on React.
Right. So what I would recommend here is to be honest, I would like to completely honest, I would say you want to just, it's more of a different approach here. I would recommend, rather than doing anything like that, I would simplify everything and build up your skill set in a video editing software. Because the truth is, and just host it on YouTube and have React like icons kind of moving at that point, and then you can on YouTube you can actually have an overlay at that timestamp where it's clickable. That would be my approach if you want to do something like that. You can go ahead and custom build this stuff so that you can have it, but it's going to be a bigger app. Like you're kind of building now like a video editing kind of app, which there's no straightforward answer to. You're going to have to like break down each feature of the app, build it out. It's not a case of like answering, if I want this to kind of like, kind of move around here, how do I do that? You're going to have to kind of work out, how do you get this element on the screen? How do you interact with the element? Do you want drag and drop features? You see, like there's a lot more to break down from that sort of use case. But guys, while we're all sort of like still, we've still got some energy, let's dive into Expo, right? So we spoke a lot about Expo today. So we installed Expo CLI. So what I'm going to do is I've just CD'd into a directory. So I'm going to go ahead and say Expo init, and then I'm going to say Expo init. I'm just going to say demo app, right? And I'm going to do enter. And this is going to go ahead and it says, okay, we got blank, a minimal app as clean as an empty canvas. We've got TypeScript, so a bunch of TypeScript cool stuff happening. I think it was my last coaching call. Yeah, my last coaching call. Everyone who's interested in TypeScript, go ahead and watch that last one because we dove into a bit of TypeScript stuff, which was pretty cool.
It's the last one.
Yeah.
Shit.
The last, I love that, dude. Yeah, make sure you do then. Go ahead and check it out. It should be uploaded, and it's gonna be. It was pretty cool. We ran through some TypeScript stuff. So make sure you do that, and then here we're gonna go ahead and do. I'm gonna do manage workflow blank. So I'm gonna click on enter, and then it's gonna download. Using npm to install packages, and it will install some dependencies and stuff. Hopefully at this point everything doesn't break and it kind of goes well. But I'm gonna pull up the chat while this is happening so I can see what's going on.
I also like figured out like how my partner used Firebase actually. So you know how you did like npm I Firebase tools for React and like npm I Firebase?
Yep.
That's literally what he used.
Oh, he used. Okay, so this is a question. The reason why I was asking this, right, is you can use that. There are some pros and cons
and then
to.
he used like the rmfirebase.io to help him out a bit with like some Firebase functions.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Because you can definitely, yeah, you can use remember, React Native is still JavaScript. So you can actually use the JavaScript sort of libraries with it. But React Native Firebase.io, whatever that URL is, just type in React Native Firebase library and it'll come up on Google. That stuff is going to be, it's built, they've considered other things. For example, when you log in, if you notice, whenever we built a clone, when you log in and you refresh the app or you kind of come back to the page, it will have a sort of initial split second and then it will log you in because it has to kind of cache or check the server and it'll kind of like grab your login details and it'll kind of log you in, or like it'll check if there's a cookie stored and if that cookie is signed and not expired, and then it'll log you in. Right now on the React Native library packages, there's most likely going to be, Frank just dropped it in the chat as well, so make sure you go check that. But in the React Native one, most likely it does a lot more sort of deeper level of caching or another layer of caching. So you don't get that like glitchiness and it kind of works seamlessly like you would expect it to. So there are reasons to use it. But as Shrika showed us, like you can use the sort of regular JavaScript packages as well. Nothing wrong with that. But just know that there are some differences and there are reasons why you would want to use the sort of packages or libraries like the React Native Firebase one. For example, Firebase only offer some stuff, for example, cloud messaging to native platforms, which means that you're going to have to install that kind of library anyway. Otherwise, you won't be able to access that A/B testing, remote config, all that cool Firebase stuff. You need to go ahead and do that. So
yeah, also like another thing is because like the React Native Firebase that kind of like gave him a little bit more issues. That's why he kind of used the instead.
So that's actually a really good topic to quickly touch base on. So yeah, so as Shrika said, like you're going to run into more kind of resistance when you're using the React Native libraries because it's no longer just a simple install command. You now have to do iOS dependencies and something like pod install. So you have to install iOS pods and stuff like that. Then you have to install Android and you have to mess with, I think it's Gradle. I can't remember. It's been a while since I touched that.
Oh yeah, Gradle.
Yeah, it's like Gradle stuff.
Gradle or Gradle something. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have some kind of dependencies with Android, but you have to like CD into each one and then do an install. iOS is definitely pod install and things like that. But then the thing is, right, pod install might work, and then you go to Android install and it breaks. So you're gonna have to like debug the two separate things, and then it comes together and then it works. So it's not as quick setting it up. But remember, a lot of people will put like a lot of love and soul into these libraries, and they work, and huge teams have come together to make it work, and they've ironed out a lot of the problems. So I would recommend using it. But if you run into a situation where you can't use it for whatever reason, you've been debugging for ages, the first thing I'll say is find a mentor that you can kind of jump to. Don't quit. But the second thing is don't let that be a blocker. Like for example, Shriek is a perfect example here. He didn't let it block him. He had a time frame. Imagine if you have a client and they're willing to pay you money, and it's a case of you're gonna lose that client if you don't land that job. I would pretty much say just use whatever you can use, and slowly you will get better with that tech stack. But you're gonna lose the opportunity if you don't do anything, right? So I would say make it work, and then yes, like I guarantee, like I look back at old code now and I'm like, God damn it, why did I do that? Why did I that's a terrible way of doing it. But it's the only way you're going to learn. It's the only way that you're actually going to progress. It's the only way that you're actually going to go ahead and do that, right?
Frank, I sent you a DM on Slack.
You sent Frank a DM on Slack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question about the architecture of the React Native. Do we use React Router on React Native, or does it have a different way of like changing from page to page?
So you don't use React Router on React Native. You use React Native navigation, and there's like a battle of which best navigation library to use. But I remember we switched at a previous workplace from one of the popular ones to React Native navigation, and then that picked up quite a lot. So a lot of people use React Native navigation. There are a few. It's good to know, though. It's a good question. There are a few different navigation libraries, whereas with React JS, so React JS meaning the sort of web stuff, that's going to be pretty much React Router each time. So React Router is a lot more sort of in the lead on that front, but or you'll have something like Next.js, and that's going to be a bit different, you know.
Yeah, Sunny, someday we should cover Next.js.
Yeah, we should definitely do maybe like some server side sort of stuff, because that's a whole nother way of thinking. Server side rendering, it can really it can throw you off a bit. Like it can be a bit kind of confusing.
I once looked into it and I was like, oh my God, what all do I have to do? I was like, okay, let's just get back to basics of React.
Yeah, exactly.
But Sunny, when we go and for any work like that, they need a lot of things together. And it is very difficult to remember each and everything aspect in an interviews.
Yeah,
so how do you prepare? You are preparing only based on the questions, or do you prepare yourself, one at a time? Like if you are going, I have two skills like React and Angular, both.
Right.
Then it is very difficult for me to grasp both.
So remember, firstly, the chances are, the chances are I wouldn't try and master React and Angular, because you're kind of conflicting two different libraries. Like, as in, I would focus on, like, because you're okay. Put it this way: even if you did do really good with both, imagine what you would do if putting all your effort to one, right? And I'd recommend React because of the market demand and things like that. Now, what you want to do is you want to change your mindset and approach to the situation, as opposed to the way you're looking at it right now, which is, like there's so much to learn. Like, as in, there's so much, what do I go into the interview with and things like that. Like, remember, we want to move away from this theory mindset, right? Of like, like I need to know this, I need to know this, I need to know that. Move away from that. And instead get practical hands-on experience, right? Get practical hands-on, and sort of run into the debugging situations yourself. Realize, okay, I needed React Router to overcome page routing and things like that. I ran into a state management problem, at which point Redux was the answer, and Redux allowed me to solve this problem. Now what happens is you have a wide breadth of knowledge, which has been ingrained so deep because that debugging session lasted 6 hours when you had to figure it out, right? And then, whereas if you read it simply in a Medium article, yeah, sure, you might have understood it in that 1 hour, but I can guarantee debugging it for 6 to 8 hours or something like that, or a week sometimes, it's taken me a week to sort of overcome some problems before. And I tell you, I never forget that week and what I learned, because the pain and the sort of, doubting yourself and all the sort of trauma that it gives you, that stuff is what really like you really learn, right? Like, it's just like if you're riding a bike and you trip up on the bike and you really like break your leg, I can guarantee you're going to ride your bike a little bit better from that moment on, so you don't do the same thing, right? And you're never going to forget that. So it's the same with coding. Like, you really just, and I would say take it with that approach and you'll be very much more susceptible to answering questions that get thrown at you. And remember, like Frank said, if you don't know the answer to a question, it's honestly better to say, like, look, I don't know the answer to that, but show that you're open-minded, show that you can kind of approach it differently, or try and like readjust the question and be like, okay, but maybe were you talking about like state management? So say somebody asked a question about Redux and you have no idea about what Redux is, then you could be like, okay, I haven't actually used Redux, but you're talking about state management within an app, right? And then you can kind of like direct the conversation around that. And then you can be like, okay, so yeah, and then you might have used something else. So I actually had this question thrown at me, and I hadn't used Redux, but I had used something called Flux. And I redirected the question to Flux instead. And I was like, yeah, so I would actually do that. And I'm happy to learn Redux and pick it up if it's what is used in this situation.
Yeah, play to your strengths, especially like if you're kind of just getting started. This is what everybody on this call needs to understand. It is a rare day that someone asks you something extremely advanced for a position that's getting started, right? React is kind of new. It's like it's been around, it's been battle tested, but it's still kind of new. So don't like worry about like what the recruiters are telling you or like the HR people are telling you, like, oh, you need to have 20 years of React. It's like, what are you talking about? It doesn't exist, right? So try to get past the people that are the gatekeepers that are saying like you need 20 years of React, and say, hey, I'm really, really strong. Here's my beautiful portfolio. Here's my amazing, like, my amazing resume that Frank helped me with. Like, this is gonna look amazing. And then start getting past the people that are like the gatekeepers, and then you get to the person who is like interviewing. And then when you're there with the interviewer, say, hey, like, are you gonna make me invert a binary tree to change like the color of a button? Like, you know what I mean? Just be real. This can't, it has to match. Like, if you're only offering like, like a more entry level kind of like salary, it's like, don't expect me to invert binary trees and be like one of the core contributors of Redux, because that doesn't match up.
Exactly.
Understand that like in the beginning, it's more forgiving, but always be really persistent, because like sometimes the gatekeepers, which is like the human resource folks or the recruiters and stuff like that, they don't know anything about programming. They 100% don't. So they're looking for all these like keywords inside your resume. I know how to mess with those algorithms to put the keywords in. Who cares if you know it or not, right? Get to the person who is the person that you want to talk to, and have a strong portfolio, strong resume, and that'll get you to that place that you guys are talking about.
Exactly. That's golden, man. Because honestly, and this is a real truthful point, is if you imagine you're not surrounded by anyone or any developer community or any sort of mentor, right? Now imagine if a recruiter's job is to land you in a position, because they get commission on every time someone lands a job, right? So if Angular's hot right now, even if React is what you should be learning, if Angular's hot, they're going to push you to Angular. They're going to be like, they're like, you need to know Angular, you need to know this, you need to know SAS. SAS is really important. You need to know SAS. And they're just kind of, they're like Frank says, it's all buzzwords. They have no idea how to use this stuff. They kind of just like, yeah, this. And I'm telling you, they literally list out things. And it's quite funny now, like if I jump on a call with a recruiter and hearing them trying to sell me on a React job, because they're telling me like, you need to know this, you need to know this, you need to know this. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Like, I'm just really busy right now. I kind of need to go. But the point is that
like, this is so true. Like I've seen Upwork like client proposals, and all they actually need is just like a basic HTML CSS website. And some people are so stubborn about React, they'll be like, you need to implement React. You just need to implement React without any reason at all. Like if I think that any beginner programmer could also do the same project, but they will also always be like, like you need to learn React. And those clients, I never like those clients. Trust me, I never.
Yeah, and the thing you want to be careful about with that is that you don't want the recruiter to be the one directing you about what you need to learn or not, right? Because remember, they might be telling, like, as in a recruiter might literally come up to you and say, you're using React and yeah, you don't want to be like this is a hypothetical, for example, but they might be like, yeah, don't touch Firebase. Yeah, nobody uses Firebase. Everyone's using SQL Server. Yeah, don't do that. And because you're not surrounded by a developer community, you're not surrounded by anyone, you wouldn't know otherwise. You'd be like, well, they're the ones that are landing the jobs. They know, right? So now you've just lost out on learning about an amazing tool like Firebase, which will actually be booming. Trust me, in the future, like that, it has a future ahead of it. And also, like Firebase would have sort of taught you towards the NoSQL route. So you would have picked up NoSQL on that journey. And it's a fun way to learn it. So you would have gone in really easy with little resistance. But if you listen to the recruiter, then you would have been kind of tempted to go the other way. And now your time isn't as well spent. And it's also a case of, but the main thing is that how do you avoid this? One, surround yourself with a community, because then you can quickly validate if it's true or not. Right, you can come to the community and say, "Hey guys, like, what is it? Did anyone land a job? Okay, what have you found that you need in that job, pretty much?" And you can kind of, validate the answer and kind of find out the truth. And right now, if you could ask us right now, like, what do you think I should learn? And I would tell you, like we've said, build out the clones, build out the sort of break down the clones. What do they consist of? You'll start to see the patterns yourself. That's going to be the real interesting sort of like, that's going to be the sort of golden nugget I'd like to refer to them as, and that's going to be the one that's going to land you that position. and then forget all the other buzzwords, because web development is so trendy that, like, honestly, one thing could come into trend tomorrow, and then and it's, everyone's on it, and then something else will change and everyone's on that. And but the one thing I'll tell you is React is here to stay. Like, as in, React is definitely here to stay. It will last here for a substantial number of years. And by that point, whatever's next, it will be pretty easy to probably transition into it based on the things you pick up with React. So that would be my advice towards handling all that stuff.
One thing has happened with me when I was, Verizon was interviewing me for a position where they said the major skill set is React and JavaScript and CSS. These are the required skill set, but Angular was there too.
Right.
And they spent an hour with me in JavaScript.
Yep.
And React.
Okay.
But now they came, there was a third person who was good in Angular. Now when he comes to the Angular, then means I started, but I was blank out because it's too much for me to give each and every aspect of the questions. So even if I tell me more about it, but my brain freezes after some time, It is very difficult to go back into the programming of Angular and then give them a practical usage of Angular.
To be honest, what you've probably experienced there is more of an edge case. Like, if you've gone for a job, bro, and the job is React, it would either but if it would be React, then I would, if they're using React for one thing, Angular for another thing. I mean, in most cases, it would typically just stay as React. You wouldn't get React and Angular in that job role. And if you do, I'd kind of ask them. I'd be like, well, what are you guys doing here? Like, what is?
It's like it's like, are you guys attempting to migrate an old Angular app into React?
That's a common thing. Yeah, that's
right. It's like the people who know React really well and know Angular really well are like couple dozen people that I know personally. And so it's like, and those people charge so much for it that it's almost like that's a very specialized kind of use case. Again, like, this is all about asking questions like, hey guys, why in the hell do you have Angular and React in one interview? And also, are you going to ask them to invert binary trees to change your button colors?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to ask them, like, oh, what's the purpose of this? Is this like an internal tool? Are you guys migrating from Angular to React? Right? Like, try to, because then it's like, then they're like, okay, this person's asking questions that are relevant to what we do. It's like, yeah, we have like this old Angular app. We're trying to get to React because every other part of the enterprise is upgrading it. Our back end is this, but we need some help doing that. It's like, okay, now I know that it's not an Angular interview, it's like a migration interview. It's like, well, this is kind of how I would approach it. I would start encapsulating these functions, right? This function, and then to convert that to a functional component in React, right? It changes the conversation, but it puts you into their mindset of like why they would have such different like things inside of one.
They said they acquire a couple of the companies.
That's exactly.
And they want to maintain
Verizon,
both.
and they buy a lot of crap.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes,
So
that's exactly. It's migration.
They said it is not a migration. They said initially you have to add bustle and business here and there. So one time you are in this project.
Okay, so it's basically what they call is like, it's called the scoop out. Like, this happens a lot to startups. They'll buy it. Whatever technology is currently there, they support it for a little bit longer until they know what it does, and then they scoop it out.
Yep.
They take the best parts of it and they scoop it out. And it's okay. Again, like that conversation you have with the Verizon people, if you know this kind of stuff and you talk to people like me that are more senior, we kind of know what's going on, then it becomes like you become more valuable to them. And it's like, maybe right now you weren't able to do the Angular and the React stuff, but maybe you could pick up some books or something on or some ideas of how to migrate an Angular app, right? So you become better and better, and it's okay to go back there in 6 months and say, hey guys, I know that this position was still there, I was thinking about it, like here's just a little quick email, and I guarantee you probably still have that piece of software there that they need to migrate.
And it was amazing. They said, can we club the two application together, one an Angular and another? I said,
I'd say absolutely. It's $200 US per hour.
Yeah, exactly.
We could do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's too much what they asked me.
Of course,
a tool
because they don't know it well. Like they're trying to get they're trying to do the best they can. Like we have this legacy app that is kind of not fitting into our thing. We want to make it better.
I told them that there is another tool which is a Sencha, which is an ext.js. Then I have to learn that to merge this together. But without that, I can't. But I have to learn it.
What I would say at all is for the sort of in terms of what you're going to get back in terms of like what you can do now as an actionable point. I would say, in this case, I would say like Frank said, there's a small number of people who are really sort of specialized with React and Angular, right? And if they are, the chances are of them being up to date with both is going to be even lower, right? So they will either be like they'll know how to transfer one from another. Now, what I would say is, if in the case of going ahead and in that job situation, even if they came to me and said like, hey, Sonny, like, would you mind like migrating this Angular app to this React app? To be honest, I probably wouldn't take the job. Like I'd kind of like look elsewhere. But there's plenty of jobs out there. I'll probably go ahead and I'm more focused on being React specialized as opposed to React and Angular and a jack of all trades, right? Because I know that if I'm really good with React, I can charge a premium for that, right? Like I can go ahead and I can be like, you can charge quite a good rate for that as well. But like Frank said, the more there's like a niche specialized area, you can charge an immense amount because there's less people, but that means there's less opportunity because it's also a niche, right? Which means that like, so in terms of what you want to do now, I would say spend your time investing into sort of React front-end development. Find your feet with that stuff first, and then kind of move into building a full back end. So a lot of the clones we do back end builds. Then you'll kind of cover full stack ground, have loads of stuff on your portfolio, and then push for the React jobs, I'd say, or full stack jobs. I'd say go that route. It's going to benefit you long term. It's going to mean that you're going to build some kind of security for the long term as well. Because imagine Angular suddenly dies tomorrow, and you've spent all these months going ahead and learning both, and React took over. Now you've just suddenly not wasted, but you've lost a lot of time, where if you had just drove through one route, it's like trying to say, I'm going to be the best basketball player, the best football player, the best tennis player, the best cricketer. Yeah, you're never going to be the best of one of them, and you're probably not going to be hired by the best team. Whereas if you're just like, I'm going to be the best footballer, I'm going to put every ounce of my effort into that, you're probably going to get picked up by a Premier League team, and you're going to get paid big bucks. Right. And that's going to be the difference between that kind of lifestyle and the guy who's trying to like accomplish everything is immensely different. Right. So you're going to have immense differences with that.
Yeah. And also remember the prime focus for companies is to get as much value as they can from productivity of a developer. Right. So it's like sometimes they'll say really weird stuff just to try to push you in one direction or another direction. And it might not, you have to decide what's good for you, not what's best for the company, right? Because like what Sonny was saying is like, you could be the best Angular person in the world, and then Angular is not as useful anywhere. There's far less jobs. So it's like you're kind of like limiting yourself versus like focusing on like a more junior kind of React developer position that has more upside to grow. Like we've just showed you examples of just all in React. You could do an amazing web app, which I've showed Sonny this. I made a dashboard for Sonos, and then I'm building the app for them. This is all together. It's all the same code base. It's all React. So it's like, imagine as a developer how infinitely more productive I am to them by being able to do those kinds of things versus like if they needed a Angular front end and they had to switch to the React Native, and it's all over the place, and it's like it's hard to switch that context when you're in the middle of like coding.
Yeah,
it's a real pain, and it's very hard to do. So you're less productive. So yeah, try to get hired by someone who wants to grow with you in a certain direction. Don't like whatever they're saying. It's like you have to be yeah, because you have to do the hard work yourself, right? So you have to be motivated. And if you're just updating an old Angular app and trying to piece it together with Sencha and all that stuff that you were saying, like, that's a nightmare. It's not
Yeah,
fun. And it's
exactly.
like, what's
And
the point even?
and
It's something that they
you're
need.
gonna
Who
be on
cares?
that fence for a while, having that back and forth decision. And usually, what they'll try and do is that they'll kind of like either A, they'll give up, or B, they'll throw a salary up, and they'll be like, all right, yeah, we'll pay you X amount. Don't let that salary determine your decision, right? Because trust me, it might seem like, oh shit, like this is paying me so much more than all the other sort of React jobs that I'm being offered to at the level I'm at right now. But remember, it's about, like Frank said, like you're going to be infinitely productive if you choose the React route, and it's here to stay. It's got like a future ahead of it. Now you've also got the freelancing, the coaching, the full-time jobs. You can make a ton of money going in that route. Whereas this other route that you might do, yeah, sure, you're going to get like an extra 10K maybe in salary or something like that, but you're going to be limited. You're also going to be niched. So you're kind of like, you're literally putting a box around your skill set as opposed to what you can offer at that point in time. Whereas if you put the time in to dedicate to building out your React skills, you're going to be a lot more valuable to a lot more people. And that in return will, like, remember, value is what you want to focus on. Money is the lagging indicator. It will come. You just focus on your money, your value, and everything else kind of follows with it.
Yeah, and also imagine the kind of teams that they would have, right? Like you're going to look to your left and to your right, and they're not going to teach you React because maybe they're just in, in some other kind of like more enterprise role, which is okay if you want to do enterprise development stuff. But you might not, like, I learned the most from other people I work with. Like I'm working with a team at Sonos, and they're doing some incredible, just crazy, just top secret AI music stuff. Like it's incredible, but I'm learning from them, right? And it's like just when you think you can't learn enough or more stuff, it's like I'm making a React Native app for something that I've been doing for years at this point. I've made a lot of apps for movie studios and all this kind of video heavy stuff, but I've never done a music thing. And I was like, okay, I guess this is my music thing. And okay, they let me do it in React Native. Somehow I convinced them after showing them Sonny's thing.
Nice.
And it's like, but I'm growing as a developer, right? Like I'm not stuck in like, oh, this has to be kind of coded in, jQuery HTML page, right? Like that's not where you want to be. It's like, oh, like, I'm growing this way. I want to take the company on that journey with me so that more people can help contribute to this code. Because like once this is completed, all of the other people that are there can learn a lot from this app. Like
exactly.
So it's like, once they start seeing how it works and everything like that, that's what you want to do. You want to think about your future, not like their future.
Yeah.
They don't care because they don't care about you anyways. So it's like,
it's true.
That's a sad
I will
fact.
be focused on React now because it is very hard for me to one interview comes in a React, another comes into a Angular. It was very hard for me.
Yeah,
because if I prepare, they give hardly 2-3 days another because I'm struggling for the job.
If we take that mindset, then someone else is going to come with C++, and you'd be like, oh, now I'm going to study C++. Somebody comes with Java, now I'm going to take Java.
Yeah, I'm going to be the best COBOL programmer in the world.
Yeah.
The most important things when you're doing freelancing and all that kind of stuff is it's always going to be saying no, right? If you're not good at something and if you think that it's not right for you, like trust me, I wouldn't ever, if a client approaches me for a very good sum of money, say that $100,000 a year job for C++, right? Well, I wouldn't do it because that's not where I want to go, right? So saying no is quite important, and learning to say no and taking no for an answer is also very important, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens that you try your best and you're not able to land that job. It's okay, like you can just try it again. And also sometimes you have to say no to a client that's approaching you, and yeah, it has happened with me too. Like one of my clients was about machine learning, right? It was happening really recently, and I told him frankly that I'm not into machine learning and all that kind of stuff, so I don't think that I'll be ideal for you.
Yeah, I agree.
That's another thing. Everybody wants machine learning.
Yeah, everybody wants machine learning. You'll see AI.
It's like, wait. You want machine learning for what? Oh, so you can change this one button and make it blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys don't understand like how crazy it is out there because there's such a huge disconnect between the people that build the stuff and the people that are kind of on the business side.
Yeah.
Like the business guys are like, hey, we gotta make this thing machine learning. We gotta do this and that. It's like, for what
Don't
purpose?
overcomplicate it ever. Like you don't even need to overcomplicate it. Like machine learning, all in terms of yes, it does apply sometimes, but it's not at all necessary for you to always include machine learning in whatever you're doing.
I
It's
I,
it's
I
not
include
at
it.
all important.
I include it in everything now because I just like Firebase, machine learning.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, most of the time, the use case. Remember, like there is a disconnect with the two things, and you're gonna find situations where somebody might say, "Yeah, we want to know machine learning to figure out how many users prefer the red button against the blue button." You're like, "No, dude, that's called A/B testing," and you see, like, and then it kind of comes down to that, and then they'll be like, well, yeah, I want that," and then you'll be like, "Yeah, I know how to do that." And then they'll be like, oh shit, okay, like that kind of quickly builds the trust in the conversation.
Yeah, because Firebase does it. It's like look it up on
Yeah, Firebase does
whatever,
it.
whatever Firebase supports. I am an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google Optimize is good. Yeah.
And sometimes suggest some technologies or something to the client and say that yes, this might be the better way to do it, or if they're going in the wrong way, and if you show them that you care, that actually brings up a lot about you, talks, it tells a lot about you, and it makes an entire professional kind of thing, right? So this is again something that I learned from soft skills. So if you get an opportunity to improve on some technology, or if you think that this technology might not be the correct one for the entire job, then you can suggest that to the client, and sometimes the client accepts it, sometimes they don't, but at least you tried, right? So it shows that you're professional and you care.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Guys,
but
yeah.
I did make a machine learning app that does optical recognition. So I was like, machine learning on the resume.
Nice, dude. We're actually going to touch on a lot of machine learning stuff once we get into React Native builds and things like that. So yeah, like there's a lot of like libraries that we can use that are going to be really handy. So we're going to go ahead.
JavaScript does come with a lot of machine learning libraries. Many people underrate the power of JavaScript and machine learning. Some people are always like Python, but JavaScript also has TensorFlow.js, so it's quite powerful over there too.
Yeah, like TensorFlow is very powerful. And what you can do with it is actually,
It's also quite simple. Like I looked into TensorFlow in Python once, and I wasn't able to find some kind of like big problem in it. It's quite simple to learn too.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite simple to learn, and it's going to be super helpful. Yeah.
You could build applications where, like, say, you can build something in React Native, and then you can have like a powerful machine learning or AI in Python, and just create endpoints and API calls, and then connect it into your own application.
Yeah.
I really would use JavaScript in that case. Like personally, like JavaScript and Python are quite similar. If you think about the syntax, of course, like deep down, of course, Python is interpreted and JavaScript is compiled. But the thing is that I don't really think that it's quite useful to include two languages when you can easily do the same thing with just one language. So boost the complexity, and why not just stick to one language?
Exactly. And to add on to what Nathan was saying, like, yeah, like a lot of the time, like, guys, there's services out there that do this sort of like the heavy lifting for us, and we just tap in, right? Like we tap into it and we kind of get the benefit of machine learning without doing it. It's like the same thing. Like it's just at different levels, right? Like if again, it goes back going back to the date picker example, if you have you wouldn't rewrite the library to have a date picker, right? Like I wouldn't spend all that time to go ahead and do that. I would just go ahead and
it's crazy hard to make a date picker.
Yeah, it is. I had to do one, dude.
Crazy hard.
It's crazy.
Very tough.
And
it requires a lot of knowledge how it will navigate.
Yeah, there's a lot of headache with it. A lot of headache with it.
And
guys,
how we can handle notification via email in React.
We will touch that. We'll touch base on it in another session. But you can use plenty of things like SendGrid, Twilio. There's a lot of different services you can use.
Even Expo has that feature also.
Oh, nice. Oh, wicked. Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Can you send a link for that?
Oh,
Expo? Expo has.
Like if you go to Expo and look at like it has like the gyroscope, all the other functionalities that come with typical app development, they're all available.
Yeah.
All right, Sonny. Let's npm run iOS.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So now you want to go ahead and do npm start. All right. That was suspense, guys. Holy shit. So now we're going to do npm start, and then you get this. You get a Metro bundler, right? So this is the first thing you want to kind of get familiar with. And wow, that's a big QR code in the terminal. So what you want to do is once you get this, thank you so much. Oliver says you are the freaking best, Sonny, on YouTube. Appreciate that, dude. And what we want to do now is we have this sort of terminal come up, and this is a good starting point. So you can hit I for iOS simulator, W for run on web. I'm going to hit W to run it on the web, just to quickly sort of test this. And it says attempting to open the project in a web browser. So we can now go ahead and watch this pop up. So it will go ahead and it will do a bunch of bundling.
Click run in web browser.
What was that?
You could also just click run in web browser, like on the local host.
So on here, you can do it here as well. So you can click run on web browser, run on iOS, run on Android. It depends, like, because the reason why I like to show that one is because sometimes you have it open in VS Code and you want to control it in VS Code without coming back. So this is a handy way, but yeah, you can definitely do that. So now what you want to do is go ahead and I'm just going to do Command D to split my, oh God damn it. I hate doing, oh man, what have I done? How do I get rid of the split? Is it Command D? There we go. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a second tab. I'm going to go into the same directory. So I'm in here right now. I'm going to do Code Insiders because I've got the Insiders edition. I'm going to open up VS Code, right? So give it a sec and this will pop up. Okay, now we're all familiar with VS Code. If you're not, then just go ahead and check out some of the clones. But the first thing I want to do is go to extensions over here, type in ES, and then I want to type in this one here. So ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native snippets, right? So go and make sure you download this one because it's really, really handy. It's gonna
very, very handy snippet.
This one, right? Yeah.
Do you want to show them how to add the code thing to pass?
Yeah. So let's show them that as well. Yeah. So that's a good shout. So here you want to go to, so let's just close this for a sec. So to get that little trick that I just showed you, right? So this one here. So for you guys, it'll just be code space and dot, unless you do the Code Insiders, which is like the beta sort of VS Code. But you're going to do Command Shift P, and this will open this like kind of selection thing, right? Command Shift P, and then you want to type in shell, right? And then you'll see install code command in path. Mine says Code Insiders. If you do the Code Insiders, you can get this. And then there is a way of aliasing Code Insiders to code, which I usually do. I've just been lazy on this computer and I haven't done it. So you can pretty much go ahead and do that. And then what that will allow you to do is when you've got when you're inside a directory, you can just do Code Insiders or code and then space dot, which means the current directory, and it will open up your entire workspace. So if you notice, if I do ls to list all the files, if I do ls to list all the files, you can see app.js, app.json. What was that? Sorry.
Don't forget the dot I said. So the dot is quite important.
Yeah, you don't want to forget that dot because it's going to be an important step. And now what you want to do is you can have this open. So I like to, again, download a few things. Oh My ZSH is one thing for the sort of nice looking terminal, so which tells you your Git branch and things like that. It's really nice. I always do that on a fresh computer. Then the second one I would say download is Spectacle. The reason why I love Spectacle so much, and I kind of talk about it loads, is honestly, it's just, it has like, I remember when Kazi first told me about it, I kind of overlooked it. But when you have things like this, I do Command Option F, boom, do this, and and even if I want to do like a 3/4 split, I can do that. So you see it's very quick to go ahead and resize my screens, and then I can have multiple desktops for if I want. Like sometimes if I'm coding, so in case you're curious as to how my flow is, right? I have a big screen above me right now, so you don't need to have a second screen, but I have a laptop here. And then I have a second big monitor in front of me. So I have an ultra wide. And then, but what I would say is even if you don't, so I didn't have an ultra wide when I started, I just had a second screen. You can pretty much go ahead and if you don't have a second screen, so I'm going to start with one screen. Then what I recommend is get really good at using multiple desktops like this. So you see, I'm just literally swiping between them on Mac. Windows has a similar functionality. And what I would do is
Windows press the arrow key. If for Windows it's Control, Windows press the arrow key.
Exactly, yeah. So Control and then the arrow key, and then you'll be able to go through them. So what I would do is I typically have some kind of like a browser over on this side, and then I'll have my code editor on this side, and a little sort of viewpoint over on this side. Okay, so this is going to be a really quick way to sort of code, or you can kind of mix and match. So I've had it where I've had a full code thing, and then I would have the sort of app running here. But again, it comes down to preference, right? So now we're going to click on app.js, and you can see here, I can see my app. So I can see open up app.js to start working on your app. So now if I go ahead and type in like 123 Papa React, right? And then save, you can see, there you go, hot reloading. So we get the hot reloading, and this is the app working, and everything's good. So now quick few things to notice. Again, very similar outcome, right? So very similar to our React apps. We just have a functional component. So if we was going to make this, I'm going to create a new component and show you just how similar it is to a React app, right? So let's go ahead and create a sort of, let's call it, what should we call it? What should we call like a new component? Should we just call it maybe a profile, right? So a profile dot, let's just call it a row, right? We have a row. God, this is the thing when coding, you kind of get blank. I'm just going to go profile.js, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the snippets, but so typically what we were doing before was we were saying RFCE, and that was a React functional component exported, right? Which does this. Now this does a React functional component, but in the React.js, which is the web one, right? And the reason why we know it's web is because it says div and so forth. We don't want this one. Instead, we want to do RN for React Native, and then you do F, and then you can actually go ahead and do, I think it's just E, RNFE, right? And then I'm not sure what S is. What is S? Oh yeah, S is with the style sheet. Yeah, so with E by itself is the default profile, and it'll go ahead and say up for you. And ES is with the style sheet. So I'll do it with the style sheet if I was you, because it sets up everything that you kind of need. And you see it does all the imports, and it goes ahead and sets up your first little section here. So let's make this take props. And I'm going to destructure the props and say, okay, it has some text for the profile. So let's go ahead and just render that text here. And what I'm going to do is...
You know about this extension called Kite. I think it's available, and it's quite powerful. It's an AI extension. It's not just it's actually you need to install it and set it up. Don't do it right now. But yeah, it's very, very handy. Like I use it all the time, and trust me, I find it so valuable.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, like it's like an entirely autocomplete engine. So the autocomplete of VS Code isn't that good. And once you start with Kite, right, you just have to type dot, and it shows up not from the popularity, but from the recommendation from the AI itself. So it's very, very handy. And
they actually imported like millions of lines of code from GitHub and then pasted on like how many stars that GitHub thing had. And so you're basically pulling code in from like someone's amazing library. It's crazy.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's crazy.
There's actually one more thing to it, and that surprised me a lot. So you always find yourself, looking up for documentation, right? Guess what? This comes with inbuilt Copilot mode, so you can actually have your documentation on the side, and then whenever you can just search for a term, and it can act as a search engine. It's quite powerful.
Yeah, that's dope, dude. So I've installed it now. Let's go ahead and use it. So what's the simplest way?
You gotta install it on your computer.
Oh, right. Oh, damn. Okay, so there's actually an engine. Let's do it right now. Let's just go ahead and let's do it. Let's do it. So Kite is downloading. So it's got 2 minutes. It's downloading, so hopefully it doesn't jit up the stream. But what we can do now is, that's cool, because I read this in a newsletter ages ago, because I recognize this sort of logo, but
they advertise a lot in the newsletters.
Yeah, I saw it ages ago, and I kind of just, when you read something and
videos are sponsored by Kite. Like literally all of them are sponsored by Kite.
Yeah. Oh man.
They're smart. They're smart.
I mean, they have AI. They have real AI.
They have real AI.
Yeah.
They scraped all of GitHub.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's going to be pretty good for them. So now
GitHub.com.
Exactly. And so now it's downloading. It's got 29 seconds left. Okay. So we should be able to see this in a sec. So I need to go ahead and just install that and then start it. Okay, cool. We'll give that a go. And then what happens is as I'm typing, it's going to just prompt me with autocompletes.
Yeah, when you hit dot, then you will find a lot of autocomplete. So if you ever need something like autocomplete, then of course it's going to be there, and it's quite powerful again.
But does it break my Emmet?
No.
I don't So I don't think so. It
Okay.
doesn't break your limit when you're using HTML. It doesn't break your limit. But I use Python heavily, and in Python, there is a library called the OS library. You deal with a lot of operating system stuff,
Yeah.
and over there, like you can write the entire for loop. It will write everything for you, and the entire for loop will be written to you just using a few dot and stuff like that. It's very powerful.
Nice. Okay, let's do it. So I've installed it. I'm going to run Kite. So again, if you guys aren't using Alfred, you should be using Alfred as well, because Alfred is a game changer. Yeah, Alfred is a game changer, and you want to make sure you enable. So if you go to Alfred, I'm going to go. Oh, one sec. Let me go ahead.
Damn, we're talking about a lot of extensions over here.
Yeah, I know. I got quite a few. So here, request permission, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yep. Oh God, this is anything. It requires so many. Okay, so let me go ahead and quickly sign up to this, and because we can, if this is a tool that will help everyone out for sure, dude. Let's go ahead and show it. So I'm gonna quickly.
Yeah, like in your live streams too. Like sometimes you have to type everything out.
Yeah.
With it, you don't really need to do all that. So again, it's a very handy tool.
Maybe they can sponsor. What's up?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sponsored by Kite.
That sounded legit, dude.
For the very, very best ML code completion.
That's
Buttery
it.
smooth code.
That's it. So this is gonna so Kite Copilot is installed. It's installing of Vim. Okay, I'm definitely not using Vim right now. And then
very, very hectic. I used it once. I regretted.
yeah, I've used Vim before. Yeah, I only use it when I have to use it in a server situation.
Yeah, like file navigation is quite useful with Vim. The key bindings are epic.
Yeah.
Of course, you won't find them anywhere else, but VS Code is just heavenly, so I use anything else.
Nice. Okay, so now I've got it installed. What's the next step?
Now, I think that in your VS Code, you should get a symbol of kite. Below in the
Over here.
footer bar, you should get a symbol of kite, and then
On the bottom.
Okay, so okay, see. I think it said you needed to restart VS Code as well somewhere.
Yeah,
So
I think you do.
okay, so now we've done that, and then we can see welcome to Kite. Hey, there we go. Okay,
Yeah, let's go.
Let's check this out. Some developer has taken years to add this this little design in. So let's see what they've done here. Now my spectacle's not working. God damn it. Okay, something's glitching up. Okay, there we go. Kite. Linter.py. Okay. So now.
That level is clean.
So not writing Python. Do I need to do that, or not writing open tutorials for language? Kite JavaScript tutorial. Okay, that's a tutorial. Cool. Code completions. Right. So if you have an editor configured to show, the Kite will show you completions automatically as you type. Okay, which we already have on, and then import J, things like that. Control space if all completions aren't on. Yes, I already have all completions on. So if we do like one, oh, sick. Okay. So it's already starting to pop up, and then if I do control space, oh no, oops, you get this import prop types from, but it will learn, right? As
As you commit stuff locally, it looks through like your local kind of GitHub
right.
repos.
So there is one concern regarding Kite. It does send some of your code up into the cloud for analysis, like you said no right now. That
No, I don't think
it
does,
will
because,
learn.
in the website, they mention it that the Kite is just local. They mention it.
Yeah, so this was a thing. I used it like 8 or 9 months ago. They might have updated it, but this was the main concern why Kite was not used, because on a professional level you are not allowed to send the code. But if they have fixed it, I don't think so there is a better solution.
Yeah, so now it says does not send your code or any byproducts to the cloud.
Yeah, I read the entire thing. That's why I even talked about it. Else I wouldn't have talked about it, because I was reading through it and I found it very useful personally.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I mean, let's give it a go now. So I guess like we'll just see it pop up more as it comes up, and then I guess if you do
Copilot, and you can actually see the Copilot is quite useful.
Okay, so Copilot is here. So this thing. Right,
Yep. And now whenever you're stuck anywhere, you can just search for a term, and it will just bring it to you. It's amazing.
What do you mean? So if I do like import, right? Yeah, I mean, I think the auto completion will be the main sort of benefit.
Mainly, yeah, of course, you're gonna use auto completion here. Yeah, and it's gonna make life so much easier at least it made easier for me, because I use a lot of Python.
Yeah.
And
it
sometimes when I use
picked up.
JavaScript,
it picked up the BEM convention stuff for me. Like
Oh,
that's kind of why.
really?
Yeah,
Nice.
I was like, I didn't add that. So there's not really autocompletion for BEM stuff. So I was
Oh,
like,
I
that's cool.
love that, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It does like linting on your BEM stuff. Like it kind of learns stuff. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if say we go ahead and install profile, import profile, sorry. So import profile from profile, and then let's go ahead and add text, and let's say like a profile is what the text will say like hello world, or let's just say SSSS Sangha profile. Okay, now we should see this pop up. Okay, so we have 1 profile, 2 profile, 3 profile, and then let's just say we had Clever Kazi. Let's just say test 1, 2, 3. Okay, save. And now you can see like, okay, so we've got our, this is literally React Native still, guys, like as in, just to show you, it really doesn't change. Like, so we're actually coding in React here. So it's just very simple, same thing, principles the same. Notice how the styling is a little bit different. So you have this styles.container, and then you apply these kind of styles, right? So it's no longer the typical sort of CSS styles that are getting applied. Instead, what we can do is you can have it like this. So imagine like the styles for this container. Right now, the background color is white, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the background color to, let's just go ahead and say like red, for example. And then you should be able to see everything goes red in the background, right? And then if we want to change the color of the text, I can go ahead and say color, and I can say white. And then I can do boom. And that, oh, oops. This is the container. So color, text, white. What we might have to do here is say, instead, I might have to actually give this a style and say, let's go ahead and say styles dot. Just this is a very generic, say text, and then here I can say text. And I can say color. Oh damn! Look at that, dude.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Nice. Okay, this is gonna make me jacked, man. Okay.
Good times.
Yeah.
You're pulling the best from GitHub.
Oh my god, dude! Like you guys watch me build clones after clones, and you
It's
didn't.
like, guys, watch.
Nobody mentioned the kite.
Just put Twitter.
I know, right? I need to upload like all of those clones to Kite, and it will pick up my kind of style. Now, Priyanshu, really thank you for shouting that one, because that would be pretty cool. I think it would definitely, like, even there, the use case there was very like pretty quick.
Yeah, I just found a lot of value from it, and I just want to share it with you guys. And if you also use it in the live stream, that would be very happy, because personally, it brought a lot of value to me as a Python developer, at least. And yeah, I think that it supports like 16 to 18 languages.
Nice.
And so if you're in C#, C++, all of that kind of stuff, even in Java, I think Sonny has already programmed in Java. So yeah, it does support all of that. So think about it. You're typing in print hello world in JavaScript, and no longer you have to type in the entire thing.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Kite will actually pick that up too, and that will be so phenomenal.
That's cool. That's cool. Like, there's a few snippets I've kind of come to. I never write console.log ever. Like, I always literally CLG. Like, that's just a kind of like small little tricks and stuff like that. But I know in this case now you're gonna have this kind of jacked console log, I guess, like which is gonna come like autocomplete. I mean, it's cool, man. I think anything that can speed up your workflow. I know a lot of people are a fan of the brackets. I think it's, what is it called, color bracketizer or something. I personally don't like it. I just like to do this. I think it's a bit too much on the screen. But again, like, it's all down to preference. But Kite seems like it would be cool. So that would be pretty. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we have this right here, right? Now I'm going to quickly go ahead and add on something like React navigation to this, and I can show you guys a quick...
Sonny, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe Frank can answer. This style part, okay? The CSS part.
Yep.
Do we have to have in the same file for the React Native, or
Good
can
question.
we do the same way as we were doing for the React JS?
Yeah, good question. So what we tend to do with this, so you don't want to actually have it always in the same. You can have it in the same. There's nothing wrong with that. And it would sort of reduce the complexity. If it's a small component, you could have it in the same. But a lot of people do have a convention for this, and it's like app.style.js or app.styles. Is it? .styles? No, is it? There's a convention for this. It's I'm sure it's app.styles.js, app.styles.js. Unless there's a different one. Let me quickly just double check. App.styles.js. There is a convention for it that I've typically followed. Styles.app. No, it's not styles.app. Does anyone know the sort of, I've used it before, but in this case, but say we had this, right, app.style.js or something. What we could do is we can go ahead and do this and paste it here. Oops, paste it here. And now what I could do is I could just go ahead and you can do it a few ways, right? You can either do export default right here, export default styles like this, and that could be very clean and simple. And then you can go ahead and say import styles from app.styles.js. And then you can go ahead and get rid of this. And now you've got the same sort of structure that we were used to before. And you can see here, it's freaking out. So stylesheet.create is not a function. Oh yeah, because we need the...
It should be style sheet.
Yeah.
CSS.
Did I do... No, that's good. So here we go to, we just need to import style sheet from React Native.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we should come back and it says styles is not defined. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out why. So that is in app.js 9 styles. Oh yeah, because we've got capital S. So we're going to do lowercase s. To be honest, I mean, it's all down to your standards here, but it says we keep it lowercase just for a demo. You can see that works, right? So in that case, now we've got the same similar layout with some kind of styles file and a simple import. So you can do this as well, right?
Nice.
What is
Thank
the
you.
best practices for using a style sheet here? In a module itself, in a component, or outside?
So it depends really. Remember, like, well, this is a very simple app. If you had a folder structure, so I've seen loads of different folder structures. I've had components, very simple ones where you have a folder with just components and you have another folder with pages and you can kind of split your app up into that. I've also seen in Tesco, they had molecules and atoms. So molecules are like atoms are the absolute smallest components. So imagine you had a component called like profile picture. Yeah, imagine like you had profile picture.js, right? And then a molecule could have been the profile.js, which was the entire profile, which consisted of multiple atoms. You see? And then you see why it kind of makes sense when you call atoms versus molecule. And then like, so there's loads of different like standards that people use. The main thing that I would say is kind of have it as a very standard base, have a components folder, have a pages folder. Now pages is going to be your navigation, different pages in your app. Have a components folder for all the reusable components inside of your app, right? So you can have like the login page inside of the pages, inside the pages folder and so forth. I'm not going to do that today because it's going to get a bit nested. But the point is anything which keeps it very like neat. And to be honest, what I would recommend is, like Frank said before, go ahead and check out other people's code, see how they've done it. See if you can notice. Remember, pattern recognition. If you start seeing a few patterns, remember this stuff evolves. It's never just like there's one size fits all. And it's also very opinionated. It can change. Like app.styles.js might be the way now, but it could completely change and there could be a much better way of doing it tomorrow. And I think for example,
if I have a team, of 10 people,
right now I'm gonna go sleep.
then which approach will be good?
Right late away, yeah.
Yeah, Sonny, I gotta head to a meeting, but anybody can hit me up anytime on Slack, and I got a couple messages and happy to help anybody in the community. So
amazing. Thank you, Frank. And thank you, Priyanshu. Both of you guys were awesome in this call. And again, everyone connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, connect to them, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Amazing. Right. Okay, let me quickly pull up my chat as well because I can't really see my chat as well now. Okay, so there we go. So what we're going to do now is we've pretty much talked about, like, we've got our first sort of React Native app up and running, right? So we saw the differences between, like you see, still functional component. If I wanted state in this app, I would pretty much go ahead and do this. I would say const, or I would actually just use my snippet. So I'd say use state, and boom, I'd get this, and it'll kind of give me the template for it. And I'd say the name of the state. So let's imagine if I had like a name piece of state, and then the set name is the convention. And then use state, and I would say the name here would be like, for example, just to say Sonny was the default name, right? And then if I had the text for the first one was that piece of state. So imagine we had name, okay? Now, imagine we sort of have this. Okay, so it's freaking out because use state isn't imported. So we need to go ahead and import that from React. So you see them, the kind of hooks and things like that are the exact same. Nothing changes, right? Everything works in the exact same fashion, in the exact same way. Now, what we want to do next is we have, if I had an input field, right? So I'm going to give you guys a quick example of the differences. So in this case, you would have text input, right? So text input, and text input has a value called text. So it has a value called text. And yeah, so text is, I think it's text actually. I think it's maybe value, or is it text? Value. Yeah, so it's value, I think. Value, and then value would be name, right? So if I go ahead and do this now, you can see like it says by default, it says there's a text input field and the value is set to name, right? In this case, what we'll do is we'll set this to blank, right? And I'm going to make this the name, but there's also a change event, right? So just like we had input fields that get changed and updated in React Native, we have a change event. So I think it's on change. And so typically we had and remember e.target.value is how we got the text from the input field. In React Native, it's very simple. They just give you the text straight away, and then you can pretty much go ahead and say set name to that text. So it's a little bit simpler in React Native the way they do that. And I think this will be enough to work. So if I type in okay, so it's not on change. I think it's on change text, that one. So now if I go back and it should be underneath here. There we go. And if I go ahead and zoom in, I'm going to say A, B, C. Okay, perfect. So you see now I'm updating the state. So you can see like I've got the text input field. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. So you've got text input. The value is the name piece of state. And then we've got on change of text. So on change text. And it just shoots off text every time I sort of type something in. So ABC 1, 2, 3. And then you can see that updates this piece of state. And then what we have is the profile component that we wrote before is taking that piece of state. So that name piece of state is passing it in as a prop for here inside the profile component. And then we just rendered that out underneath, right? So here, if I was going to just dramatize it, I could say profile is, boom, this guy. And now you can see if I do this, it says profile is Sonny. Yeah, so that makes a little bit more sense. And what I would say is to make it super visual, what we can see is now you've got the app at the top, and then you've got this profile section. And this is honestly like, it depends, right? So again, figure out the workflow that works for you in what you're doing at that point in time. So I always find myself kind of like switching between things. So imagine if I'm working on my styling of my app right now, right? So I would sometimes have the app.styles underneath, and I'll be like, okay, this makes sense because now I can kind of style my app. I can see it getting updated and it's super quick, right? So if I want to change the background to green, I can go ahead and do that. And I could be like, oh yeah, actually I want to have 2 profiles and I want the name to pop up twice. And now I can say Sonny, okay, cool. And I can go here and I can change this to blue. Actually, I don't really like that. And then you see it just makes sense. Like I can kind of do all this stuff very quick. I don't have to kind of mess around between different screens and different windows. And then, and a very handy shortcut is Command P. So Command P is like this very quick way to run through your app. So you'll never typically see me opening the file tree and kind of running through it like this. Unless like I'm really searching for something. But what I tend to do is Command P and I'll type in profile and just enter and it opens the file for me, right? And if I do Command PP, it goes back to the previous file I was in. So these are very quick tricks that make you a lot quicker as a developer, right? So Command PP, and you pretty much go back and forth between the previous files. So now if you're coding in this one, you can go back, so Command PP, and if you want to go 2 files back, you just do PP and you kind of cycle through it. You see that? So you kind of just run through it, right? So that's going to be very, very handy in sort of like in speeding up your development time and getting quicker with that sort of stuff. So that's going to be awesome. What I would say is as well, guys, is in a previous video, I talked about implementing. So I would recommend at this point, everyone going ahead and building out a React Native app up to this point. And also go into that terminal and type in like So you see it says opening in iOS, right? Opening the iOS simulator. And what this does is, I mean, hopefully it doesn't kill the computer when I'm live. But what this will do is it'll pull up iOS simulator and it'll just go ahead and boot up an iPhone. So you would have to probably most likely install your Xcode and things like that for the iOS simulator. Otherwise, Android, again, you would need to do that for Android. I'm not sure, actually, if you need to have Xcode for this. I think you might be able to do it without it. But with that said, you might be able to go ahead and make it work otherwise. But yeah, so the simulators are typically slower, but once they sort of work, it should speed up pretty quick. So I'm gonna close that for now. And the point is that, again, I would kind of go quite far with doing it on the web, because you can see web's super quick. You're gonna get a really nice experience, and it's gonna be pretty close to the app. And then I would kind of go ahead and test it on the app once I get so far. So I'd kind of use this kind of view or this kind of setup to build up React navigation, to set up Redux on the sort of store and everything like that, to get everything on that sort of thing set up. And then I would go on to the sort of simulator, because it works out a bit quicker doing it that way, right? So it'll be a bit quicker doing it in that fashion.
Sonny, one question for this.
Yeah.
If I have to build an application like a Amazon clone, so I have to use a Firebase and Redux to manage the state, right?
So
the same way we did it in a React.
So
React,
if you
Redux, Firebase, authentication, and then.
So remember, just kind of break it down into features, right? So if you need login, then Firebase authentication will help you do that. Now, if you need a database and you need sort of tracking of orders and you need to have like carts and things like that, then Firebase storage is going to be the way to go with. Yeah, so Firebase Firestore, that would be really good for you.
And what about MongoDB?
So again, MongoDB, now remember, Firestore is a NoSQL database, which is the same structure as MongoDB, but you get the real-time benefits using Firestore. MongoDB, I would say, to learn about MongoDB, go ahead and check out the, make sure you go ahead and check out the MERN-stack builds, because the MERN-stack builds, we cover a lot of all that stuff, MongoDB. So what I would say is do the clones, right? So I just want to ask, like, so everyone here right now, how many of you, just raise your hand with people who've got cameras on or type it down, how many of you have done a certain degree of clones? So I'm raising my hand. I pretty much wrote
one clone. Yeah.
Yeah? So you've done them, right?
One clone.
Yeah, one clone. Yeah.
Okay, so one clone. Atul, how many were you saying? One? Or?
One.
Okay.
Only one, yes.
So I can see a few people have 1 up. So Pedro's got 3 up. Anish has got 2 up. Okay. So now Patrice has got 7 up. Okay, awesome. Nice. Patrice, nice, dude. That's awesome, man. Yeah. What I was going to say is I see loads of 2s, 3s, right? And things like that. Level up, guys. And I see Attila was like, I got 5. I got 5 on my belt. So you want to make sure you like do more builds, right? So I can see in the chat as well, we've got Sahana 2, Brian 4, Antonio 6. Okay, cool. Hardeep 5, more than 5. Nice. Right. So what I would say, and D has got half. Damn it. Come on. You know, like.
And Sonny, will it be good that if I create a design, so we can collaboratively work together, all of us, one component for this person, one component, so they can learn it also.
So
like I build a CRM application, big full from scratch to the production.
So I would say, honestly, in my opinion, for you all to benefit the most, right? What I would say is for the clones, right? So try and do as many clones as you possibly can. There are literally about, oh, nice. Jesse said, I joined 9 days ago. WhatsApp clone finished. Awesome. Nice. What I would say is, guys, there are literally 20 to 25 clones, right? So, and I know that someone
25 to be exact.
25 to be exact. Damn, man. Literally.
Okay, I will start doing that too.
Yeah, there's literally 25 clones, right? So I mean, geez, I don't even remember building 25 clones. But the point is that
I built so many in my previous company, so many things, new stuff.
Yeah, as in you're gonna build out a bunch of stuff. But what I would recommend now to progress for you guys is build out the clones, and you might be thinking, yeah, but I've done like a few clones. I think that's enough. But the benefit is, guys, each one posed a different like sort of challenge in different areas. For example, the Google clone presented a different challenge, and we had to set up a Google API and use it in a very different way. The Hulu clone had some UI design elements that were challenging. The Amazon clone, the 5-day challenge one, 100%. If you guys haven't built that, do the Amazon 5-day challenge. That is a full build, full stack. It's going to have front end, back end. It's going to have loads of everything is covered in that build, and Stripe payment processing. So it's a
Yeah, I
really,
did that.
very, very powerful system, way to do it. Now, the way I would say is so Hardeep's working on Google Clone now, awesome. So I would say make sure you go ahead, and I just read Jesse's message as well. That's awesome stuff. And yeah, like all of like a Flexbox is going to come leveling up. All those things, it's all going to be pretty much a case of, and so she says, thanks so much because of the rule of 0.65 and 0.35 with the sidebar and chat and WhatsApp clone. Yeah, so most people don't actually know how to use the flex rules properly. Is in like, you might have used flex and sort of like flex wrap is the furthest you went, right? But when you actually figure out that flex can do sort of screen separation in terms of like 30% of the screen is this, 65% of the screen, or 60%, 70% of the screen is this, and then you kind of containerize things and start thinking in a containerized approach, design becomes quite easy actually, and you start to kind of like break down. And then what I would say is go to websites like Dribble. So that's, I'm going to just drop it in the chat right now. So it's Dribble with 3 E's, dribble.com. Right, this is a game changer of a design sort of thing. So if I'm going to build an app now, I go to Dribble, I just literally type in the kind of app I'm building, and there's like, remember, UI is a skill in itself, right? Building clever UI systems and things like that, and UX systems, it's like we spend a lot of time to become good developers. Same with UI and UX, right? They tend to spend a very long time. There's a lot of things which make design good. Now, you take inspiration from those kind of places like dribble.com, and then kind of like strip down the sort of things that you see, like the patterns you're seeing. And again, you see it's just pattern recognition. Everything comes down to like recognizing patterns and what's sort of trending, what are people into right now. A flat design is quite in fashion right now. And you see like combine that with the clones, and you're literally combine that on the clones. And I would be shocked if everyone in this call hasn't landed a job in the next 3 to 6 months. Like, as in, it's literally that simple. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Like, build the clones, look on Dribble, start putting in so clones are one thing, but also always have a side project of your own. If you don't have a side project of your own, you're definitely losing out there, because that's where you basically take the knowledge and you're not listening to like, oh, Sonny said do this, so that's what I'm going to do to make my app work. Instead, now you're like, right, no, I've got a whole different use case which nobody else has done because this is my app. If you were into hairstyling and things like that, right? Like you can make a barber app or something like that, right? Like, and sort of like everything is around the booking system for barbershops or something like that. I mean, you could go into that kind of detail. If you like, Patch was a student, he is a student, sorry, and he was a bartender before. So what he did is he actually went ahead and built a bartendering app, right? So I worked closely, I coached Patch one-on-one, and he basically went ahead and built a bartendering app. And that was awesome, because then he ran into problems which only he was running into that weren't available in a clone. And he had to use the skills that he picked up in the clones to overcome that. And that's essentially exactly what happens in a job, right? You're going to use the skills that you've picked up on all these other things, and then you're going to apply it. So that's what I would say. Make sure you're doing that. Apply the rule of 3, so the rule of thirds. So you're always spending a third of your time and everyone here right now, well done, because you've literally satisfied a third of that time requirement, because you've been in a position where you've learned from somebody who is more experienced, more sort of like has got more like kind of skill in that domain. So you can pretty much pick up a lot of tricks and tips and sort of shortcut, right? So for example, like I bought a fancy camera, right? Now I'm not going to go through and pretty much spend ages on Google, right? I'm going to find someone who is an absolute badass in videography, and I'm going to literally just be like, I'm going to just show me everything and do it that way. So the guy I bought the camera from, I pretty much made friends with him, and now I'm shooting tips back and forth with him, and he's got a lot of videography jobs, and I'm pretty much just going to tally along with him and just kind of film with him. And that's how I'm going to become really quick, like really fast. Because literally, like, somebody has spent years and years and years acquiring that skill, and you can just come along. And this is the fun fact. You can come along and kind of pick up all the gems very quickly, right? Because it's like reading a book. When you read a book, the chances are there's only like a few key takeaways from the book, but the book itself takes ages to read. Like, or for I don't know, it takes me ages to read a book sometimes, honestly. Like, and even with Audible, even on times too, I'm constantly going back because I phase out. So I mean, but the thing is, you're going to get a key takeaway. Now, if somebody had read 50 books and came to you and said, this is what I learned from 50 books, you've not only saved a bunch of time. Now, of course, reading the 50 books yourself is going to be super more valuable than actually just taking someone's word. But the point is that when it comes to skill, you can literally kind of shortcut. that sort of that succession, right? And you can kind of like take that shortcut and you can just like crazily jump past even senior developers. You can just kind of like overtake them right now. Like it's crazy because I literally I'm in contact with a lot of senior developers that I was working with when I was a junior developer, and they're like, hey dude, like where are you at right now, and this and that. And if they saw what we were doing on YouTube and stuff like that, they'd be like, holy shit, like, oh my God, like you're doing this. And it's because like you don't have to, just because it took typical like senior developers a couple of years to get to that point, you could be at that point in a year. There is nothing stopping you. But the only thing is that there are some things, for example, debugging, experience, that stuff does take time, which you can't skip past. And remember, there's a balance. You can't expect to be really good at something and not be willing to put the time in and just always looking for that shortcut, because it doesn't work that way. And remember, like I can't remember which quote it is, but it's somebody said it takes 10,000 hours to even consider yourself as an expert of something, right? So if you've done like 100 hours in something, you'd be like, yeah, I really put in the work and stuff like that. Is 100 hours 10,000 hours? Nope. So carry on working, right? And now suddenly those 8 hours that you put in, you're like, I was debugging for 8 hours. Oh my God. Like, I'm just, like I should be a full-blown developer now. Is that 10,000 hours? Nope. So keep on working, right? Like you see, set your ceiling so high that you just have to keep working to kind of reach your own sort of like limitation. Otherwise, the sort of person in your room, your colleague, this and that, if you're not surrounded by the right people who are pushing you, it's very easy to kind of limit your growth, right? You kind of want you want to be in a room full of people who are just like absolutely push yourself to your limit. And that's going to be your best way to push as a developer.
And another thing which we are seeing in US, the trend has been changed. Like an interview, they give us 20 to 30 questions and asked us to complete in 13 minutes.
Right.
Before you go to the next step. But this has questions which you have to do it in a paper or somewhere.
So I would say, honestly, from the experiences from firstly, where are you getting these interviews from? I'm very curious because they're very because
I don't know. Means
yeah,
these are nuts. I can say I worked so long in industry, but I never did this kind of. I never faced this kind of interviews.
Yeah, if somebody put a piece of paper in front of me and said 30 questions, you have 30 minutes, I would literally be like, oh, I don't want this job anymore. Like, you can take the pen and paper and you can give it to someone else. Like, I literally, I'm not working in a company like this, right? Like,
no, UN. I just got a UN interview.
Yeah.
Not interview. It is a screening test. They said 1 hour. 45 minutes, and I believe it is 30 questions in it.
Right. So what I would say is, honestly, at this point, don't focus on those too much, because the reality is if you're hearing like me, Frank, anyone else who's landing clients or anything like that, who are telling you otherwise, that the majority, because even in my experience, I've yet to come across that extreme of even like a React versus Angular. I have had companies come to me with migration requirements. We have an Angular app, or we bought an Angular app and we want to migrate it to React. Are you interested? And I said no. And this is, again, comes down to what Priyanshu said. Be comfortable with saying no and declining jobs. So like the fact that he knows that at 13 years old and he's getting primed with that is really something that we should all look up to, because you being comfortable with saying no might sound easy, but you really do have to build that skill to be able to do that, because you could be in a room where somebody's willing to offer you 70 grand, 80 grand for a job, but it's going to have a negative impact on your growth or your future success, right? But you might not see that because you're kind of blinded by the 80 grand, right? And we call this we call this a golden handcuffs, right? And the reason why they call golden handcuffs is because it's like you think you're in the golden situation, right? Like you're getting paid money, like everything's good, but they've literally got you, and they're limiting you because they're kind of like they've used the salary to pretty much go ahead and like cuff you up and sort of limit your growth, right? And a lot of companies will do that, which is why I would even say I'm quite extreme when it comes to salaries. And some of the students who might know this, like I wouldn't push for like a 2 grand raise or a 3 grand raise. I'll push for like a 10 grand raise or like 10 to 20 grand raise, and that might sound like, wow, like what the hell is he talking about, right? But there's ways to situate yourself. For example, if any of you know what DevOps is a very highly paid sector inside of software development, right?
Yes.
DevOps, if you're a full stack developer and you pick up DevOps skills on the side and you build up your own projects, you get very comfortable with CI and all this other stuff, and then you kind of you move into a company. Let's say you move into a company at 50K, right? So they're paying you 50K as a base salary, and let's say their DevOps guy, they're paying 80K, right? Because DevOps get paid very well, right? Now imagine the DevOps guy. What I would do is I would move into that company. I would shadow the DevOps guy, which is exactly what I did in my first company. And then I basically went ahead and I was watching him and I was like, dude, like, this is amazing, man. Like, and do it in a fashion where you make them feel good, right? Like, if you go up to someone and say, oh, that's easy, man. Yeah, I can do that. No one's going to want to work with you, right? But if you go up to them and say, like, that's awesome stuff. Can I please, like, learn from you? Would you mind sharing some tips? I'm guaranteed no one will say no to you. Like, and if they do, you just, like, be nice about it and move on. Like, but the point is that I pretty much said to him, like, I was like, yeah, like, can I just pretty much shadow you next time you do a deployment, next time you do any sort of CI work, just give me a shout. And we started doing that. Now I picked up the skills required to take over the DevOps position in the company. And then he had to leave, right? So about 7 months later, he left, right? Now think about it. They were paying somebody 80 grand, right? To fulfill this role. And then they're paying me 50 grand. So imagine, like, as in, this is a hypothetical situation, but I did use this in a different sort of, the numbers were different, but I did exactly this principle, and I boosted my salary about 20K, right? And the point is that, like, he left the company, and I said to him, I was like, I am now doing DevOps. Plus, I'm the full stack developer who has got my feet into loads of different parts of the software, right? That, like, I've done a lot of different, I'm part of the app build, I'm part of the web app that we've built and things like that. And I also picked up React Native on that job. Now, justifying 20K as a pay rise when they were previously paying someone 80K is like, like, this is kind of a still, right? Like, now they don't have to pay someone 80K. They're just paying you an extra 20K. And you're doing the DevOps as well as the some development work, right? Mm-hmm. And you see, like, and now you've done them a favor, so they actually like you a lot more. And two, you've got a lot more hell of a lot more respect and authority in the company, and you're also picking up skills, which remember, you want to say yes to the opportunities which are going to be like sort of exponential in terms of your growth in the future, right? So picking up DevOps is going to boost you big time in the future. Right? Learning Redux is going to boost you big time. Learning React Native is going to boost you big time. But doing things like Angular versus React, that to me, compared to, like, picking up DevOps, is like a downward trajectory. As in, it's not a downward, but it's kind of a much less. It's basically, it's going to just, like, imagine if that's going to increase my development at this rate, right? It's only a very, very small amount. But if I start learning DevOps, my salary is going to quickly go up and it's going to really start to peak quite high.
No, it is worth to tell you these things. What I'm getting in return from you, it is highly valuable for me at this time, because I was preparing for, my interviews getting screwed up because on both the technologies which I'm working on, and it takes a lot of time to prepare for interviews. It takes from ground zero to the complete,
Yeah.
And it was very hard for me to remember each and every point in technology.
So think of it this way.
Focus only on one.
Yeah. So think of it this way. So remember, if you ask me tomorrow to Sonny, do you remember how to do, like, do you remember how you used React navigation and had, like, customized headers and things like that in React Native? I would tell you straight up, no. I was like, I would tell you I did it at one point. But if you said to me, like, do you remember off the top of your head? I'd be like, no, I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, I know it's possible. I've done it in the past. And even if I didn't do it in the past, I know it's possible. So it can be done, right? And then from that, like, that something can be done. So it's just about figuring out how to get there, right? And so the first thing is that if any of you get an opportunity, take the opportunity, right? As in, like, if there's a freelancing gig for a React job, take it. And it's like pretty much.
I never tried that, yeah.
Yeah,
I will try that.
Like, literally go on Upwork, sign up an account, And then if you have an opportunity, go ahead and take the opportunity, right? Like if somebody offers you a job, and even if it scares the crap out of you, take the job, right?
Okay, I will do that.
And it's literally a case of like, imagine you're in a plane, jump out the damn plane, right? And you will figure out how to survive on the way down, right? That's the kind of way I put it, right? Like, and you will figure out a way to survive, right? Like you will definitely,
Very good.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. You'll figure out some kind of crazy way to figure it out. Like Indonesia says, hope we have a parachute. Like you make a parachute on the way down, right? And then that's what I found, because unless you put yourself in that situation where you have that extreme pressure to perform, right? You're never going to be put in that situation. Like when our bodies are very like acclimatized to like never push ourselves further than we need to. Like if you're in a comfortable position and you're getting paid, you're eating good, everything's kind of like, you know, like your body's like, I don't need to work harder than I am right now. Like it's all good, right? If anyone who goes to the gym knows this, right? Like you have days where you wake up and you're like, I don't really need to like, you know, I don't need to go to the gym. Like I'm good. Right. But there's going to be days where like, but if you signed up for like, let's say like a boxing fight, right? You know that fight is coming, right? Like, you know that if you don't fight, your ass is going to get whooped, right? Like, or like if you, so you're going to train like, cause you have that immense pressure. Now it's the same as in the development world, right? If you have a job and somebody's like, right, the deadline is in 3 weeks, do whatever it takes to get that done. Now you're going to be networking if you need to network to find someone who will help you.
Yeah,
you're going to be learning React if you need to learn React. You're going to be doing Redux if you need to learn to do Redux. But you're going to do crazy amount of shit in 3 weeks that you never would have done unless somebody had stuck it in front of you. It's like kind of like a soft gun being pointed at your head, right? Like, is somebody saying like, now perform. And then you're like, oh shit, okay, I have to do it now, right? And this is the case for a lot of things. Like we just, as humans, like we need some kind of stimulus to kind of like push us. And what I would say is the best stimulus. And the best part is like you get paid, right? Like you get paid for it. So take the opportunity. But if you don't take the opportunity, you're not going to get paid. And two, you're not going to push yourself out of that comfort zone to the point where you would actually be really benefiting yourself. If anything, when you don't take that job, most people see it as, yeah, I'm not going to get paid $2,000 from that job. But what I see it as, no, you just lost $2,000 and you lost all of the opportunity cost of the learning that you would have got as well. Right. So like,
you're right.
Yeah, think of it that way.
I committed that mistake. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So think of it that way. And then suddenly a 2,000 job is no longer a 2,000 job. It's 2,000 plus the opportunity to learn a hell of a lot, which is infinitely valuable because you can coach with that information, freelance with it, and land another job with it. So you see?
I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I will take your advice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will note it down. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm glad you say that, Sonny, by the way.
No, awesome. Yeah.
Because I'm kind of finding myself in the middle of, I have to, I'm working on a minimal viable chatbot or thing. And then I'm like, okay, the chatbot is done.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, the user dashboard. Oh, wait, the styling. Oh, wait, the data. Oh, why the hell is the Firebase not working? Wait, no notifications in Firebase. Oh, I'm working in React. And sometimes I feel like having a lack of experience, makes me not being able to always estimate how much things still need to be done.
Yep.
So I'm trying not to think of it and just be like, okay, no, don't worry about that. Just what's the minimal?
Yep.
Cut your losses, almost cut the parachute sometimes by accident, I guess. But so that's what I find hard.
Yeah.
But I have to say, with the builds you guys have, I think I had enough experience to see the patterns.
Yeah.
So with the WhatsApp clone, for example, I had a very unstylish chatbot, but now I used your tricks from the chat room, and now I made a user dashboard. And when I was never able to put the elements in one container and see it like, okay, this is a column direction.
Yeah.
This is display flat. Now I was just able to do it, and that was just so amazing. So I can definitely recommend everybody
100%
do the builds and then take from it, and then also save the builds on your computer.
Yeah.
It's actually sort of a database.
Yep.
And then be like, oh, where did I find this? Because actually building the chatbot, I have the WhatsApp clone next to it.
Yep. Take it one step further, push it to GitHub. So push it onto your own personal GitHub, and then you would actually,
yeah, it's already on GitHub. Actually, yeah.
Because I even had this problem yesterday where we have an internal tool that me and Kazi built, and then I was like, shit, I can't find the code, and then I couldn't get through to Kazi because Kazi was doing something at a time, and then I was kind of scrambling around on like an old external SSD, and I was kind of like trying to find this code, and I was like, God damn it, why didn't I just push this thing to GitHub? And we all make the mistake, but the one thing is that if you just push that code to GitHub, now it's gonna make your profile stand out a bit more. I mean, even if it's private, it's still another repo on your account, and it's always like the amount of stuff that you're going to look back at as reference is it like your reference material is literally like golden because you wrote it. Right? Like as in if you wrote the material, it's going to be golden. It's going to be literally catered to you and how you work and how your brain works. And it's going to be something that you can always look back to. And I always look back at old stuff and repurpose things and like come back and I'll improve it. And I'll kind of like, I'll be like, I remember I did something in that project, and I'll kind of be like, I just need to do that again. So I'll go back and I'll grab that snippet of code and be like, okay, done. Now I don't need to spend hours on trying to figure it out, and I can go ahead and grab it. Now, something I want to go ahead and say is Niche. Nice. He goes, whenever you were saying niche, it felt like you were calling my name out. Nice. Jesse, I want to add to what you were saying before. So you mentioned about the sort of like some kind of like pressure to kind of like keep pushing you to do like the dashboard or another feature or something like that, right? Like, and I was kind of talking about like the pressure of like a job or something like that is like, or a deadline for an app is a really good motivator, right? But what happens if you don't have, like most of us don't just start off with clients, like we don't have clients, right? Like what if you don't have a client? How do you set yourself a goal to push yourself and pressurize yourself into that position? Like how do you get into that position without clients, without deadlines and stuff like that? Because you it's very difficult. You might be thinking, I can't because I don't have a client, so I'm not going to get that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you are as a person and what you want to achieve with programming, to be honest. Like of course, the client or the business coach I told you about, that was really for me an incentive, because I want to do good. I want to make this a cool app, so I said, okay, build the habit. So first of all, some people, when they start out, their energy is very high.
Yep.
And then when you start out, their energy burns a little bit up. They in 1 week they build a creative project. They start out, they work 50 hours on it. Let's say they're motivated, and then they start burning up, and then it slows down. Motivation goes down, and it burns up basically. So what I've been trying to do, I've been testing since summer a little bit how my energy management is, because that's a very important thing when you're developing your energy management. I have the tendency also sometimes, especially when I just solved a bug, I tend to be like, I have to sleep at 11, but I tend to start, be coding at 1.
Yeah.
1 a.m. I have to stop myself because I want also to be able to code the next day with a fresh mind. So to not do this, to not spike, you have to do like 1%, 2%, 1%, 3%, and then you build it up. So that's the first. You got to build the habit. You got to have the discipline. Then, of course, working towards the goal.
Yep.
So you got to know yourself. Some people are extremely stressed when they start coming closer to the goal.
Yep.
So they're like paralyzed. Some people have that. I don't have that. Like I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things, and then just before the deadline, I'm like, fuck it, that was way too much. Like, like strip it, make it minimal, just do this. And I have not been able to deliver a project like 100% where I'm like, okay, I'm so incredibly, because I always felt like, okay, this should have been in it, this. But if the client is happy and you did the communication well about the features, the minimal features for that session, then it's okay. So I always have, for my projects, if I have let's say 10 features the client has, and I'm aiming for 12, but actually in my mind, I have 15 lined up. Yep. In the case of like, I have that place of over delivery, so that sort of stuff. If you plan that on 15 in your schedule, but you come out on 10 in the end, you're still be able to get that deadline and have really good results. So yeah, what keeps me going.
Two things you touched on without realizing there, which I really kind of live by now. One is the way of building habits, right? Habits are a way of like Jesse said, like, and it's very true. Motivation dies. Motivation in the beginning is skyrocketed, right? Like you are so pumped. You're like, I'm going to be the best damn developer in the entire planet. I'm going to be Bill Gates, right? Like, and then like as you code, as you hit more debugging, as you hit sort of like more pain points, you're like, that comes down, and then your discipline has to kick in, right? Now, discipline by itself is very up and down. Like it's very like a roller coaster ride. One day you're super disciplined and you do really well. Another day you're super lazy, you don't do much. So one thing that I found that really works is habits, right? Habits is amazing. Start with very simple habits, right? So literally like every single day, read a book called Atomic Habits. Very, very good book.
James Clear, amazing book. Yeah,
exactly. Like so.
Which one it is?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, Atomic Habits, very good book, and I just bought that as well. So what I would say is literally building a very just imagine like if every single day you did and like let's just say 2 hours of work, right? As in 10 hours in a week, that's 10 hours. In a month, that's 40 hours of development, right? But imagine the consistency of that. The consistency of that is gonna be to a point. Imagine if every single day you put in 2 hours towards React, right? And then imagine on the 7th day, if you're really tired and you're kind of like, you know, like, I don't really want to do this. I'm like, oh, I hit debugging wall. You've done that for 6 days now. So breaking that streak or breaking that habit is a lot harder than kind of, because now you're like, oh, like it will kind of eat you underneath, and you've created your own internal pressure, right? Which pressures yourself. So that is my first tip for, and I do that with Kazi a lot, and we sort of go back and forth with streaks and things like that. So like, we have workout streaks. We have different kind of work habits. That was the first thing I would say. And the second thing that you touched on, what was it? What did you say after that? Because it was a really good point. That
over delivery with the clients.
Yes, that exactly. So there's another good book that everyone should read called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, right? And 10X Rule is one, it's amazing for money investment and things like that. It's a really good book to read. But the whole point of 10X Rule is if you want to get any form of success, you need to do like crazy amounts of work that other people just won't do, right? And what I mean by this, and because like imagine if you go ahead and set yourself a goal like of I'm gonna code let's just say I'm gonna code an hour a day every single day for the next week, right? Now what Grant Cardone says is he says no, like, all right, so 10x that. Right, as in like, and I'm just giving you an extreme example, right? Like, as in like, this is like a very extreme example. But let's say you said you're gonna code 30 minutes a day, but then Grant Cardone would say like 10x it. But he tends to talk in goals, right? So it would be your goal. Let's say if you want to make your goal is to make $20,000 by the end of the year, he would say 10x that to become 200 grand, right? Now the point is that even if you fall short of your goal, chances are you're going to smash 20,000, right? Because your goal was so high that like, even if you came short of it, you would still surpass your original goal, right?
Yeah, that's also what Elon Musk says, right? That the goals that you have for 10 years, why don't you set that for the next 6 months? And people say, why? That's really impossible. He's like, well, but you got a lot faster than if you would have planned for those 10 years.
Exactly. Elon Musk is one of my best. He's definitely something I look up to as well. And that was a really good part. Yeah, that we say. Carry on, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to pick on what you said about habits. I think one really good book for everybody is The 4 Tendencies from Gretchen Rubin.
Okay.
Which one it is?
4 Tendencies.
Oh, 4 Tendency.
Yeah, it's more like it is about your inner expectations and the outer expectations. So the inner expectations, are you the kind of person that says, if I have to run every day 5 kilometers, will you do that?
Yep.
Some people will do that. You know, once they set that bar for themselves or the goal, they do that.
Yep.
No, they don't want that streak to be broken. Some people, when you talk about outer expectations, it's expectations from the client, from your boss, from your. Then some people say, if somebody asks me something, I will always do it. So you have four different personality types. Everybody is in some way some of the personality types. But let's say you're a rebel, you're below that. It means like You don't really give a fuck about inner expectations, but you don't ever give a fuck about outer expectations. It means you're only motivated by what you do yourself. You choose what you do. For example, you also have the questioner. The questioner will only do the inner expectations.
Right.
That person thinks is good for them. But when he gets outer expectations, he will ask questions.
Right.
And then you have other types of persons, but it's really important to know that about yourself, because when it comes to deadlines, it's really good to see how do you behave around external expectations.
Yeah.
For me, I'm sort of like between questioner, but definitely a rebel. So even if my boss would say it should be done by that and then, I would say, okay, great, but I have to do this, this, and this. You want me to do this, or you want me to do that? If that's possible, we can switch this. I can move this faster for you. What do you like? And then I just do my own stuff. That's a typical question rebel kind of person.
Right.
An obliger, for example, an obliger is a kind of person that says, boss says needs to be done by Monday. Obliger says, okay, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Gets to work, you know. Upholder will also, but it's really interesting because the upholder is the kind of person that says, I'm going to run every day 5 kilometers.
Yep.
He's going to do it, no doubt. If the upholder says, I'm going to make 100K next year, he will do it, no questions asked. And then it's really good to see if you're with teammates, who's more of an obliger and who's more of a rebel.
Yep.
How the communication is. So that's really a good point to know about yourself when it comes to deadlines. That's just what I wanted.
Amazing. No, amazing. I think everyone go ahead and check out that book.
Sonny, I have one technical question now.
Yeah.
I want to design something which has a like a view, a list of items. I get it from APIs,
right.
And I have to provide a links on it.
Yeah.
And it is a single page application. And I want, when I will open one document or one record, it will have a further, tabs in it.
For this sort of question, for these sort of questions, I would say Slack me, because it can get very granular, and it's kind of hard to follow.
I will send you the
so send the Slack. Send the Slack. Yeah.
Yeah, how I want to build it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it will help all of our community people too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Go ahead and do that, and that'll be awesome. So guys, takeaways from that: read 4 Tendencies. Right, it's really, really good book. It's going to help you guys a lot. It's any kind of, and also thank you, Calvin Cabanda. He says, dude, these calls are awesome. Keep it up, and kudos to everyone chiming in. Amazing stuff. Thank you, brother. He's always chiming in on the calls. Amazing guy. And what I would say is as well is sort of final sort of takeaway point is oh damn it! It was on the it's on the tip of your tongue. What was it? I was going to say. It'll come back to me. But the point is, so something really hit me recently, and I was kind of reading a book as I was driving to Merban's house, and it was kind of like, it was part of 10X rule, and it was make success your obligation, right? Like we all look at success as a choice, right? Everyone in this call right now, we all look at success as like, it's a choice. Like I can choose, like some people just get it, like, but like, or some people are born into it or something like that. But no, like change your relationship to success and make it like you are obliged to be successful. If you don't do what it takes today, like everyone's still on this call, you're doing that exact thing, right? You're showing up, you're still like here, you're still like improving. Even if you get tired, even if you feel like, oh my God, I've done too much or whatever, like keep on showing up, because like if you don't do that, you're literally being unfair to yourself, because you're literally taking it away from you, right? So if you start thinking of it in that sense, it becomes an entire different lifestyle, and decision-making completely changes, right? Even if your friends want to go out and things like that, no, but you are obliged to your success. And if your success was to sit at home and write code for 3 hours, then you better sit at home and write code for 3 hours, right? Like as in, obviously there's always going to be a balance, but the point is that like if you want to achieve success, you need to do like crazy things that people, and the truth is that people who are successful, if you look at everyone who's successful to like crazy amounts, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all these people, they were at points in their lives, they literally sat in a room and grinded so damn hard to the point where like nobody was sitting behind them saying, like giving them a pat on the back saying, you're going to be a millionaire, you're going to be a billionaire, like everyone's going to know your name and things like that. You just absolutely have to like put in like ridiculous amounts of work to scale up. And it was only until I started doing that I saw my life actually start to transform and completely take a different direction. And before that, it was very much a case of, you know, like a kind of a small, like a slower kind of progression. Anish Kara says, just one question. Can hard work ever go to a waste? Okay, so very good question, actually. So can hard work ever go to waste? Put it this way. If you put in work, no matter what it is, right? If you put in work in the gym, right, and you don't see a result, if you put work in sort of your in coding and you fail and you didn't whatever, don't look at that as a failure. Look at it as, no, I tried something, right? Like as in I tried something. For example, say you're coding React, right? You're coding and you're trying to do Redux and it didn't work and everything failed, right? You must have taken a bunch of different approaches to solving that problem, right? Now you know that those different approaches don't work, right? So try a different approach. And then and that's all people do. It doesn't matter how senior you are. People have just ironed out more approaches than you. That's all it is. And you keep doing that and you start looking at it and things like that. And honestly, that I forgot who said it, but it's so damn true. Everyone has no idea what they're doing, just at a different level, right? So like a CEO of a company literally is thinking in their head, how the fuck do I manage thousands of these like employees? How the heck am I going to get everyone paid today? Like the economy is crashing. How do we get everyone still getting paid? Like there's families on the line, things like that, right? All of that stuff is the sort of like the struggle of a CEO. And then imagine it like a developer, right? How the hell do I get Redux working? Shit, I don't know how to get this thing working. You know, I don't know how to do it. Everyone has no, like, and trust me, when you go into a senior, like now I would be considered a senior in a development team and in React anyway. And if somebody says to me, yeah, so this is true. Like he says, Thomas Edison found 99 different ways of not inventing the light. Exactly. So you see, he just ruled out 99 ways and then he got one. And all it takes is, but then that would be seen as, and you would typically see as overnight success or just natural genius. And people would kind of tend to put a label on it. And because the truth is that like naturally our bodies aren't inclined to put ourselves in that much pressure. Right? It's not much sort of like pressure to perform to that extent. And you don't want to kind of go and fail 99 times, you know, like you don't really want to do that. Right? But I'm telling you, that's the truth. And a lot of people, exactly. And Albert Einstein said something else. I'm not smart. I'm just willing to make more mistakes than the average person. And that's the truth. It was only until I started to kind of like dive out of my comfort zone and be comfortable with failing. Right? If you're not failing, then you're not pushing hard enough. That's why I always say, like, keep it very simple, right? Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's my number one thing. And literally, like, and if you're not failing, like, just push harder. Pretty much. Like, when you start failing and you start like hitting actual failure points, that's when you're like, even like, think of it in the gym. If you put on a weight that's too heavy, yeah, they usually say like you fail, like or keep doing a bunch of reps until you hit failure, right? Until you can't push that weight off. Now, what do? You don't just quit, right? If you quit, what's the point of like training in the first place, right? You come back to the gym the next day, you keep doing it. Like you eat better, you do other things. Like just like in coding, if you don't get you code every day, but if you don't get your sleep, right, your brain is just like it's gonna be fried. And I see loads of people like, yeah, I've been up for 6 days straight, and I'm going to be the best damn developer. I've got like 3 hours sleep average this week. That's not good, right? Like you need to take care of your body. Your body is a vessel. Like you need to kind of like eat right, sleep right, all of those things. Why We Sleep is a really good book. I'd recommend everyone reads that. It's a really, really good book. I didn't realize how much sleep did for you until I read that book. But I would say, yeah. So on that note, guys, amazing session. So many people are still here, and it's crazy. Even on YouTube, we still have a bunch of people, and so much positivity at the end. I see loads of people just dropping like so many words of positivity and things like that. So I just want to say a massive thank you firstly to everyone who was on the call and everyone on YouTube watching and things like that. And Saddam has a question. I'll answer that question, and then pretty much we're gonna wrap up there. So go for it, Saddam.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for somebody who is first time.
Yeah.
I've been quite listening, and I already feel okay, feel happy.
Oh, amazing, man. Thank you so much.
What do you guys suggest me to, what do I need to to set up before next coaching call? What do I need to do? Any suggestion? For
Yeah.
now, I am just
So
following the models. I'm just in model 2.
So I would say go ahead and
any preference or just follow like that.
yes, I would say go ahead, do some of the modules. Show up to Naz's coaching call, show up to the Success Coaches coaching call, because they're literally the exact same as this. You're going to be surrounded by a ton of positivity, a ton of improvement, growth, that sort of stuff. Go ahead and progress through them. So again, the third rule, right? Progress through your stuff. Reach out to the community. So everyone on this call right now, or even in the PWJ chat, reach out and say like, hey, does anyone want to learn with me? Like, let's jump on a call. And jump on a call with someone, dude. Like, literally, don't be afraid to do it. Like, just jump on a call with someone and say, because again, or go to the new students channel where you introduced yourself initially, and you'll see everyone new who's joining. And you can pretty much at that point say, hey, I'm new too, or I'm relatively new. Do you want to like team up and learn something new together, right? Do those kind of things, start building your network inside of the community. And that's going to help you sort of overcome those sort of fears and things like that. And you'll sort of like, before you know it, dude, you'll be kind of running and you'll come to the sessions with questions. Remember, it's a marathon. Like, don't like sprint and expect to be like the best developer in 2 weeks. Like, just pace yourself, enjoy everything. That's my main sort of thing, right? It doesn't matter how hard it gets, enjoy it and kind of like make sure you just enjoy the entire process, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing, dude. All right, guys. With that said, I'm going to wrap up here.
Sonny, just one more thing.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. For those of you who were curious about Apple event, they just announced their new processor called M1.
Oh, damn, dude, you spoiled it. God damn it. I was going to read it. I was going to watch it afterwards.
Very good news.
Yeah, that's what I knew they were going to drop the processor. God damn it. Yeah, I mean, this laptop will still do me good.
There are a few more things we still need to watch that.
Okay, dope. I'll watch that after this, man. Mehrban's probably like, oh yeah, I got a few messages. I'm gonna check it every time. But
it is worth to invest in Apple.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have invested in Apple. So that's actually, dude, my stocks probably went up. Nice. That's awesome. But guys, that's amazing. I'm gonna wrap up here. Okay. And we're going to call it a day there. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I will see you all on next week, Tuesday. Okay? So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And see you next week. Peace, guys. So, guys, that was an amazing call over at our amazing Profit with JavaScript community. If you enjoyed that call and you made it to this point in the video, firstly, thank you so much. Smash the thumbs up button and make sure if you're interested in being a part of a community like this, you go ahead and check out the link in the description, Profit with JavaScript. It's going to go up in price at a certain point, so make sure you kind of capture that deal right now. And make sure that you surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. But as always, guys, it's your boy Papa React, and I hope you like this new setup. It's pretty